Guam. Is it still hot out there? Biba Hotbis. It was hot since like I was getting in the car like 6:30 and it was already hot.
Yeah.
I was like, well,
the days are longer.
So 6:30 in the morning? Come on. That's just out of control.
Well,
that's like unnecessary.
I think right about come like after summer where we go into the what do they call it? Daylight savings time, right?
Well, we don't even do that here.
No, we don't. But the sun goes down pretty quick. I mean, because right now the sun goes down like 6:45.
It's summertime, but
yeah,
you know, whatever the sun is doing, he needs to knock it off.
Well, I know that there is some buildup down south of us.
Okay.
There's like this big old cloud coming up, so hopefully it's going to give us some rain because I believe the inches of rain that we had for June was like less than like 0.1 inch or something. So
I pee more water than that.
So it's going to give us some needed rain, because even my grass is actually turning brown. So, yeah.
On the bright side.
Okay.
My grass isn't growing as fast. So there's that.
Okay.
But when I do got to go out there and cut the grass, I'm burning up. Yeah. I got to take more breaks. I could usually get a good amount done in an hour. I'm taking at least 4 breaks in an hour.
How many more days till school? I'm trying
August 22, maybe sooner. I don't remember.
It normally starts like August 18th, 19th, or 19th, right? But I'm trying to like time it right so you don't have to bush cut the school grounds now, but come later, come July, that's when wet season starts.
Yes.
And a little fact here that when the island was taken back in 1944, July 21st, it was hot.
Okay.
Prior to that, but during the time that they were liberated, the rain started coming down.
Really?
That's what my dad told me. Yeah, and it hasn't rained. It didn't rain for like almost a month or so, and so it was kind of like a blessing.
The blessings.
Yeah, the blessings. Like, okay.
Blessings from Mother Mary.
Exactly. Like, okay, you guys are washed now. I mean, you're not going to go through all this crap anymore. But I mean, it was very interesting to because think about it. Every July 21st, it does rain during the parade. Be it in the morning or, so it's still blessing us till this day.
Yeah.
Right. So thank the Lord for that.
That's true.
Yeah. And just a little World War II trivia type thing, right?
Yeah.
But if anybody...
Remind me how many days they bombed Guam before they landed, though?
Oh, gosh. They were out there. They were out there. I mean,
days.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching something on YouTube. Again, I went down that rabbit hole. But... I mean, they were actually supposed to liberate Guam before Saipan.
Yes.
But they had to contend with the 18,000 Japanese troops that were there. So, basically the command said, no, we got to go to these guys first. So they did it in June, and then they came back. They came down to Guam. Yeah.
Because didn't they liberate Saipan on July 4th? It was like symbolic.
In July.
July 4th.
I'm not too sure if it was July 4th. I think it was the ending part of June, early July. Yeah. But I don't know. That's, anybody from Saipan, CNMI?
I think we can just Google it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this video that obviously we played the one that interviewed in Real, Right, and Uncut, right? We're not going to play it again.
Okay.
Again, the woman who allegedly says that she is
the missing girl.
Yes, from one of the sisters from the CNMI. The same videographer from YouTube posted another video yesterday, 14 hours ago. I guess last night. And it's a video of another woman who apparently knows this woman who is saying that she is Philoma Luke. Says friend was asked if she was really who she claims to be. Now, we're not going to play that video. There's so many F-bombs in there, right? So, this one would actually take me a long time to edit it, right? But this woman that's in the video, she also says, "Oh yeah, that she is who she says she is. She's very smart. She's crazy, but she's smart. She's a very smart woman." And so it was very interesting to see. And then he was like, "Where? So where is she?" And then she says, "She's around. Probably when you leave here, she'll show up. She's definitely around the area when it's night." And then he said, "You know what's crazy is people in his comments are telling him to take the video down." He says even relatives are telling him to take the video down, or relatives of Philoma, right, are saying that's not her, take it down. And so you can hear him in the video saying, "I'm not taking it down because what if it is her? I've already talked to the FBI." So he's on this new video saying that he's already in communication with the FBI.
I forgot to ask
and
you.
the media in Hawaii. He
Yeah.
said the Hawaii media has reached out to him.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you where did the video take place in
It
recording?
it might be in North Carolina
In North
because it
Carolina.
doesn't confirm it. However, there's another article that attaches this woman
Yeah.
to Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this video could be taking place anywhere between North Carolina and DC because he
DC,
doesn't identify where he's at in these videos.
Well, I mean, because I'm almost certain that if the FBI is aware. of
They're
this,
already
yeah,
aware of him.
and
They're
where
aware
he's
of his
at,
videos. They've made contact. Obviously, the media has contacted him. He's like, "This is crazy." And then the girl goes, "It is her." And he goes, "For real? What if it is her? Like, I'm not going to take this down."
Yeah, I don't think he should. I mean, until the FBI, comes up with their own investigation in terms
Yeah.
of whether or not. I mean, if just to see if it is her.
Because,
and-
again, there have been no leads for 15 years.
Yeah.
So this is a possible lead.
I mean, we played the video yesterday, and I was getting a couple calls. It was like, what if this girl just knows about the story and wants the reward money?
Sure. I mean, clearly she wants the reward money.
Yeah.
Clearly, because she says it in the video. I'm trying to get my money.
Yeah.
They're either going to deport me or they'll give me my money. That's
Yeah.
what she says, right? Now, obviously, she's clearly suffering from mental illness, right?
Drug addiction.
And drug addiction. And she could be, we don't know for sure, she could have been on drugs. She
Yeah.
could have been on crack
During that time of
during
the
the
interview.
interview.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's not going to know some things, but then also, again, I'm not going to say she is Philoma. However, I wouldn't discredit what she is talking about because why would an individual even, if she is high, right? If just this impromptu video, just the guy why would she tell him that story just out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And how does she know the street that she was taking, the bus stop story, Saipan, obviously she doesn't say it correctly. Well, she hasn't been on the island for so if this is her, right? And so she gets even the birthday correct. So maybe she has. I mean, again, because I see the comments too that they are saying those things like, oh, she has already for years now is trying to be this person. So that's why she's done her research.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she knows how to play the game.
I think the DNA process would come in very handy because
Right.
There are living relatives in Saipan that can
Right.
give up some of their
But
DNA.
Dice told me, where's the father? That's also concerning. Dice was saying the father is nowhere. I believe they know where the father is, but he is not. He has not been willing to work with authorities for quite some time.
Wow.
That's interesting. That's something else that should be
And then you got to
looked into.
You got to think, how did the two girls get kidnapped, right? I mean, what happened there? They got kidnapped. They would bring them to Guam. Of course, there are stringent processes, with how you get on the plane.
Probably
One,
not even a plane.
Yeah,
Probably by boat.
probably by boat. But where did they go to from there? Did they go to a foreign country? I mean, it takes a whole process
So,
just to take my daughter on the plane.
but then, so they don't talk about that, but they do talk about how easy in the video that this individual posted just 14 hours ago. Both of them agree how easy it is to change your identity there. So they know.
Yeah.
And I think she was saying like $50.
Yeah.
So they know some people that can help you with documents to change your identity for just $50.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, they got kidnapped in Saipan. The only logical place to go to fly out of the Marianas is Guam, and then Guam to Hawaii, Hawaii to the East Coast, right? If you were to go,
because doesn't Saipan have direct flights out of
to foreign countries,
Yes.
to foreign countries, and you would need a passport, right? And so, how what happened there? I mean, it's like I'm pretty sure
they would be on the manifest,
yeah.
and so there's no trace.
I mean,
That's
because
yeah.
I mean, just to bring somebody, it's not like you're traveling from Guam to Hawaii where all you need is a birth certificate, right? Back in the day. Now you need that passport. Like, my daughter wasn't able to go until I got her passport. And so unless this person that kidnapped them had fake passports and ready
Already.
to go. Yeah. I mean,
Already.
that's the only logical thing that could happen.
I don't think it's that either, just because the FBI would get the manifest anybody with the identity as of two girls age 10, 9 that got on a plane as any identity.
Yeah.
And so, they didn't find any of that
it would
information.
be by boat, but even still, right? I mean, that's another logical thing to look at in terms.
Oh, look at what happened in the 90s here in Guam. Governor Carl Gutierrez, right? These Chinese boats were coming in,
Yeah.
right? And they were jumping off the boat and swimming ashore,
Yeah.
right? So that's not unrealistic to take a boat all the way out. I mean, there are fishing boats that go all the way to Pohnpei, that go all the way to Palau, out of the docks.
It's I mean, you could see kidnapping in the United States because travel wise, you just kidnap the child and jump in a car and go anywhere. Here in Guam, we are in the middle of the ocean, so
Yeah,
this thing's
but
probably
there-
bigger.
but there are fishing vessels that leave the CNMI.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is an easier way to not be on a manifest.
Yeah.
Clearly an easier way.
Yeah. No, I agree.
2:23 in the afternoon, I saw this release from Congressman Jim Moylan's office.
Okay, what's new?
Advancing congressional review of special education. Let me see here. Congressman James Moylan regarding new report language secured in the House Appropriations Committee fiscal year 2027, a related agencies appropriations bill directing the U.S. Department of Education to examine special education service gaps in Guam. So I'm not reading that whole report because it's like how many pages? There's multiple pages.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to, I don't have time to read 452 pages.
Oh, gosh.
So
Where's their media team? Break it down, guys.
well, they do provide a press release, so I'm going to have to. I rather read the report myself, but yeah, I don't have time to read 452 pages.
Okay.
Right.
I take it back, guys.
Yeah, so I'm going to rely on their release.
Okay.
Congress is taking a closer look at whether children with disabilities in Guam are getting the special education services they need. Because of concerns about possible gaps in special education programs, the U.S. House Appropriations Committee included language in its fiscal year 2027 education funding bill directing the U.S. Department of Education to review the situation in Guam. If the bill becomes law, the Department of Education's Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services will have 180 days to brief Congress on what special education services are available in Guam, where there may be gaps or shortages in services, whether students with disabilities are receiving the support they need, and how those gaps may be affecting the quality of education and access to services. And so the action does not provide new funding yet and does not immediately change special education services in Guam. Instead, it requires the federal government to study the situation, report its findings to Congress, and give lawmakers information they can use when considering future policy changes, funding, or support for Guam special education programs. Congressman Jim Mullins was able to get language added to a congressional spending bill that requires the U.S. Department of Education to investigate whether Guam has gaps in special education services and then report back to Congress. The goal is to better understand the challenges facing students with disabilities in Guam and identify ways to improve support in the future. And so when I read that, I still have to read the 450-page report.
Yeah, look if there's any thing with elevators there.
Right, but it sounds like they're ready to come in
Yeah.
and audit the whole special education program.
Wow.
And make sure that we are doing everything we're supposed to be doing according to the federal law.
Well, apparently we're not, because the elevator over there at Southern High is still out.
Well, the judge ruled in favor. The part that kind of is off-putting is the release itself.
Yeah.
The release itself is off-putting because it comes off as like, look, we defeated two students with special needs.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That was the off-putting part.
Yeah.
However, when you read the report, and that's why I just really wanted to read the judgment call on it, the judge says that GDOE did everything that they could possibly do realistically to provide an adequate education to these students, right? And so there is an elevator that is in operation, but it's just not, in a very convenient place. So they just what's more convenient, putting their classes on the first floor, and so therefore you don't even need to use the elevator.
True.
Yeah. 2:28 in the afternoon. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take the break. On the other side, we're going to take a deep dive into the Special Economic Services meeting that took place yesterday at 9 a.m. They were able to piece it all together by afternoon. And so we have, we'll basically not just play the audio clips, we'll play some of the parts in this Special Economic Services meeting that I felt were pretty, people would like to know more about. Big one is the ARPA money. They give more details. It's Lester Carlson that gives more details on where some of the ARPA funding will go. And so he never mentions infrastructure project in Mangilao. He mentions DPW and their road payment projects. Money moved to DOA for GMH. And the fire station.
Fire station.
The new fire station over at Sinahanya.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to build. Is the one next to the church going to go vacant?
It should.
Or will there be two Sinahanya fire stations?
I think because I pass there daily and they're already broke ground. I mean, they're digging.
No, but what about the current fire station by the church in Sinahanya?
They'll probably go.
They won't use it.
Yeah, they'll probably go back. Maybe. I mean, nobody in Gov Guam wants to give up their property, so they'll probably end up still using it somehow. But over the years, they'll be like, okay, guys. You guys need to be at your new station. You guys don't need this place. And so, I mean, I don't know what it could be used for. I don't know, a recreational area for. I mean, because it's right there, right near the community center. I mean, this is something for Mayor Hoffman to look at. But I don't know. I mean, aside from GFD, who would have it? Would it be Gora? Would it go back to Gora, or I mean, would it go back?
I totally could see it go. I totally could see it either staying another fire department or fire station, or give it to the mayor, or even the church. The church is right there.
Oh no!
No, don't give it to the church.
Give it to church. There's all this talk about separation of powers and everything. There's separation of church and state.
I mean, we already bought church property in Agania Heights.
Yeah. And that, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I love the church, but yeah, no, I don't. There are going to be a lot of people.
I mean,
that,
it's a community. See, that's the problem,
Mm.
right? Is like, I never thought of it like that. I thought of it as another community facility. I maybe I'm naive, but why are community centers right next door to the church, right? And we went across the street and back and forth from the community center to the church. You had mass, and then you walked over to the community center and you ate.
Yeah. Well,
right, and that's how we grew up.
That's how it's always been.
Yes,
when you think about it,
and so
church,
all over the island, we built our village.
Yeah.
Around our church and our community center.
The church was the center.
So I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to apologize. I would rather it be like that forever and ever here in Guam.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, and back then, the Catholic religion was very strong. I mean, in my days, we were like, we had to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to go to church. And if we didn't, then we'll be punished pretty much. And so, nowadays, secular society type thing.
Well, I enjoy the whole blessings of,
And I love St. Jude. I go to St. Jude all the time.
The Catholic Church, or even, look at what the legislature does. They are open to all kinds of faiths.
Yeah.
They start their session with a faith, right? And sometimes it's not the Catholic Church.
Yeah. And then when you look at their...
And then they also end, right, with a different faith.
When you look at their island address that they do for the governor and the congressman, they always start out with a prayer from different denominations.
Right.
So, I mean, it's still within our society, but, a lot of people, they're just strong against keeping everything separate.
Sure.
And rightfully so, I guess. Everybody has an opinion.
But when stuff hits the fan, guess who we go to?
Of course.
Guess who we go to? And you don't have to go to my faith, because what I've seen also, the military embraces it too. Why do you think they have chaplains?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is being in the military is a high stress level job. And so how do you manage stress? A lot of times through your faith.
I think generally we need to go back to certain things, and everything that you're talking about, we maybe not go back to it fully, but at least go back to it, maybe even half of it. Just
I don't
to
even
bring
think
that
you
sense
need
of,
to go back to it. I think you just need to just understand that this is how we've lived our lives for hundreds of years, maybe not centuries.
Yeah, when in Rome, right?
And respect the way we do things.
Yeah. No, and
not everything needs to change, and not everything needs to change right away either.
Yeah. It's the external factors that are usually the problem in terms of, what do they call them? Carpetbaggers? No, we got to change certain things. Okay. But when we've been doing it for hundreds of years, that the church was always within the center of our community, they saw it different. And so, and a lot of people adapted to that.
I would say that Liberation Day should never be separate from our faith. Of course because not. I still remember photos and also the stories of my grandparents that said the rosary and the Santos got them through every day of being occupied by the Japanese.
There's a
every
picture.
Day they would pray the rosary. And if it wasn't for that, their hope would have died a long time ago.
I got to thank Dr. Mike Babakwa, because when I was down at Congressman James Moylan's office, I was in charge of getting all these photos, right? So I had to go to the museum. And there's a picture of Chamorros on the hillside with a makeshift Tongan wooden cross and a priest. And you could see on the background on the ocean nothing but Navy battleships and everything and all of that. And this was right after they were liberated. And so the faith was strong then. And, nobody look, thank you, America, but thank God too as well. So, so that picture was powerful when you want to talk about faith and everything you're saying about your grandparents and everything. Yeah, that picture radiates everything you're saying. So.
Okay, so we'll take the break, and then on the other side, we'll start playing some video footage from yesterday's Special Economic Services meeting.
Yes.
At 4 o'clock, we are going to be talking to the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam. We usually have conversations with them after their monthly meeting. Their monthly meeting happened last week, Wednesday. However, a lot of things just happened, and I think he was off island for a couple days.
Okay.
And so we never got to have that conversation. So we will today. A little bit after 4 o'clock right here on Away. Oh, and by the way, the Knicks pulled off the biggest comeback in NBA Finals history.
And to win the
down
championship?
No, they're up 3-1.
Okay.
But they were down 29-0.
Wow.
29-0 at one point. The people were already giving up on them by halftime. And they figured out a way to win. It was a crazy game. Madness, complete madness. Hopefully they don't assault any Spurs fans, though.
Yeah.
Like, calm down. Like, it's not that. It is still a game. Do not assault the visitors.
You understand, New York, they haven't won a championship since the 70s.
Not an excuse. Not an excuse. Do not assault the visitors. The Knicks are going back to San Antonio. You don't want the San Antonio fans to assault the Knicks players.
Yeah, you don't want that rallying cry.
Right.
Remember the Alamo.
Remember
guys.
the Alamo. You don't want another massacre. 2:37 in the afternoon. Wave 105.
Guam, get ready. On Sunday, June 14th, the Tuma Night Market becomes the stage for something extraordinary. Triple J Mazda invites you to the official unveiling of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. See all 4 models revealed together. Close your eyes and open your senses. Enjoy complimentary Mazda giveaways and product samples while supplies last. One night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Only at the Tuma Night Market, Sunday, June 14th.
First impressions start with a smile. Call the FHP Dental Clinic for quality dental care. Need a cleaning? Maybe a filling or another dental procedure? When you smile, everyone around you smiles. Now accepting new patients. Call 671-646-5825 extension 8562 for appointments. Most insurance plans accepted, including Take Care and GovGuam self-funded. Self-pay patients welcome. FHP Dental Clinic, our islands, your clinic.
This Father's Day, level up Dad's Ride with 20% off Nano Ceramic Coating. Go Global HP for style or Extreme Ceramic to beat the heat. Call 647-SLAM. Detailing and gift certificates available. All summer long, Chili's Party Platters make celebrating easy and delicious. Perfect for grad parties, family gatherings, or anytime you're feeding a crowd. Available for pickup or for delivery. Only at Chili's. Great value and memories happen here. Hungry and need gas? Mobile's got you covered. Now through July 31st, Mobile Smiles app members can enjoy a free 6-inch Subway sandwich with every minimum fill-up of $30 gas at any Guam mobile station. Available exclusively on the mobile app. It's an easy summer win. Fuel up, open the app, and enjoy the rewards. Not a member yet? Pick up a Mobile Smiles card at any mobile location and register today. Mobile and Subway, a great deal for the summer. See store for details.
The road to Adelup is here, and this time we spoke with Democrat candidates, Senator Torius Terlahi and Senator Sabina Perez. Here is your opportunity to hear how they plan to govern Guam. Watch the conversation on Wave 105's YouTube channel, dated May 28th. This is a glimpse of Guam radio station.
This is the BrightSide right here on Wave 105. Thank you for tuning in. 2:40 in the afternoon. Let's bring up the host, Mr. Pauly Suba.
Welcome back, Wave 105, the bright side. And so I shared some of these numbers this morning while I was filling in. And so I'm just going to repeat these numbers just because I'm going to assume that you weren't tuning in this morning. So BBMR Director Lester Carlson, he says that Guam's April revenue report showed the government was $21 million ahead of the adopted revenue estimate. However, after subtracting shortfalls in special funds such as the Guam Highway Fund, Property Tax, Healthy Futures Fund, Tourist Attraction Fund, and money for legislative IT improvements, or the app contract, the report showed a negative $6.7 million snapshot.
Well, add 200,000 to that.
But Carlson said the number does not tell the full story because many tax payments were delayed. And so because of Typhoon Senlaku, the governor moved the tax. Correct. The governor did move the tax filing deadline from April 15 to May 15. That is true. I'll walk that back. Carlson said May collections came in much stronger than expected. Individual income tax, corporate tax, and withholding tax brought in about $47 million more than expected. Because of that, Guam's gross general fund revenue is now estimated to be $62 million ahead. After subtracting the same special fund shortfalls, Guam would still be about $33.5 million ahead. And so he's saying that Guam's finances are in a much better position than the April report made it look. And then property tax collections are low, but BBMR expects them to catch up. He says property collections are currently behind by about $24 million, but this is likely temporary. Remember, the governor extended the property tax payment deadline because there were problems getting invoices to property owners. And Carlson said that issue has now been fixed and payments are coming in. He said historically, Guam residents usually pay their property taxes. For example, in fiscal year 2023, there was an expected $35.7 million to come in through the property tax, and they saw $35.6 million come in. So that number was practically there. They're like by a 0.1 difference. Fiscal year 2024 expected $35.8 million and then collected $35.7, another 0.7 difference. Fiscal year 2025 expected $35.8 million and collected over that, $36.3. So even though fiscal year 2026 collections are low right now, he believes they will catch up by the end of the year. He also says that people cannot pay next year's property tax unless they first pay the current year's tax. Around $10 million from Typhoon Senlaku funds may also be left over. He says the government set aside money for Typhoon Senlaku response, but spending has slowed down significantly. He says about $9.9 million remains in reserve and may be needed. He highly recommends that the legislature should put that $9.9 million back into the rainy day fund. DOA Director Ed Burns supports putting any leftover money back into the rainy day fund. He said investors liked seeing Guam build up that reserve. It was also important, Carlson wanted to remind the public that Guam continues to suspend the gas tax. He said without that suspension, gas would cost about 19 cents per gallon. So what is it, like $5.84 right now? So we would be paying at the pump if it wasn't for this $6, 19 cents. Add 19 more cents to the total. So we would be over $6. And so he's saying that is something again that the legislature and the administration, the executive branch, have worked together to at least provide that relief at the pump.
On the rainy day fund, I think it's public law that they do
80.
have to.
They have to put the cap, and if they put the $10 million back, they're pretty close.
Yeah.
They're going to be somewhere around $77 million.
Yeah.
And that's something they discuss later on in the Special Economic Services meeting. But obviously the big one is, what do we do with the BPT? Do we maintain it at 4.5 or do we go down to 4? Carlson says we should maintain it. Actually, you're going to hear him why he says to maintain it.
But what is the October deadline? It goes to a full percent?
Goes down another 0.5. So yes,
Yeah.
remember it was at 5%.
Yeah.
Fiscal year 2026 is
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah.
Fiscal year 2027, 4.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
so
a
Lester
full
is
percent.
saying our numbers, if you want to keep rolling with this because the future is bright, at 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
the sun is out and it's hot.
Right. Yes. Yes. You know, my mayor is Muslim and my Christian is Dior, but the Knicks don't win in 4. Not anymore. Maybe 5.
And because they stayed alive.
Yes.
Gosh, the poetry of the bright side. Geez.
All right. So we'll play that one. I think you're there already,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Okay.
already set.
This is Lester Carlson again at the Special Economic Services meeting, basically showing reasons why. He's explaining why it just makes more sense to keep the BPT at 4.5.
Submitted in, I believe, February 2nd. So those same numbers, we are still on track to collect those, given the additional 5 months of collection from January to May.
So, any other comments from the other agencies on this particular category? Seeing and hearing none.
Just one, FYI, I know your opening statement made reference to public law that would take the BPT down from 4.5 to 4. For the public's information, just in case they didn't know, we predicated the FY27 executive budget request on maintaining BPT at 4.5%. There are a number of public needs that we are going to have to incur. Namely, once we finally get through the protest on Simon Sanchez, we're going to need $16 million in cash. And the reason why I say that is because if you take a look at the other lease schools that we have, Teason, we have to make that payment in the first quarter of the fiscal year. That's $10 million. JFK, we have to make the payment in the first, I believe, month of October. And the same thing with GEFF for the 4 schools. Those payments are provided to the trustee within the first, collectively 3 months of the fiscal year in cash to be able to pay the lease payments. Again, I'm going to put this out there for everybody's information. At the end of fiscal 27, we're going to own Okadu High School, League One Elementary, Atacao Elementary, and Estumbo Middle School. All 4 of those lease schools need a lot of work. Unfortunately, they were not maintained to the same degree as Teason or JFK. There was a foul ball is the nicest thing I can say about that process. But we're going to need revenues, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to bring those 4 schools that will be under our ownership at the end of fiscal 27. And we're going to need revenues to support that. Even if you took the existing amount that is paid to GEFF for the lease payments of the 4 schools, I would imagine that the repairs to one of the schools would maybe that amount would be just barely sufficient for some of the repairs. We're talking about, you talk to any of the 4 principals, they'll give you an idea of how dire those schools are. It's an unfortunate situation. This did not work out the way we wanted it to work out, and nobody came to this body to ask for additional appropriations so that prior to the turnover of the facilities to GovGuam ownership, they could be returned in better condition. Nobody's approached this body, nobody's approached us. So it is what it is, unfortunately, but there are a number of needs. The hospital is always going to be an issue. Road repair, because we're providing the relief to the citizens via the suspension of the liquid fuel tax on gas. So that was the thinking behind what the submission was. I know that the body, there's a law, there's probably some momentum towards moving it to 4%. I'm just FYIing everybody that the reason why we kept it at 4.5 is because we do see funding requirements that could utilize the 0.5%. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be.
And that's Senator Chris Dueñas say that will be a policy decision. So they will go to the other side of the room and they will debate that fully. They've got the numbers, like, right? I mean, again, what happened last time when it went from 5 to 4.5? They included that whole amendment into the budget bill. And so what were people like Senator Joseph Augustine supposed to do? What was Senator Tina Rose Munoz Barnes supposed to do? It's attached to the budget. Do they want to, because again, the governor vetoes the budget, right? She said she would, right? And so Senator Tello Taidagui fought hard to keep the BPT at 5% for military projects, and that amendment was worked in to the budget bill. So, I mean, if it goes the same way and it's included into the budget, what do these senators do? Not pass a budget? They have all of the other Republicans lined up and ready to sign off on this. So I think the right thing to do is just, this is already, well, I don't know what, I'm not going to say the right thing to do. The writing is on the wall, though. It doesn't do anybody any favors to continue to provide the legislature 4.5 numbers when you know darn well they're going to move to 4. We want to see what the government, the budget is going to look like at 4%. So people can see what's really going to be affected or not. Because Lester Carlson is saying these are the schools that will be affected, right? Astumbo Middle School, Atacao, Liguan, Ukadu High School. And that's sadness. We should sue these people. That's their job. That's the agreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hand off schools that are junk?
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to hand off schools that are properly maintained, and then we can think about capital improvements, not immediately. So when he says, to put it lightly, like, that should be unacceptable.
Yeah.
That should be the government of Guam, the legislature and the administration
Holding
saying,
them accountable.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious? You're going to give us schools that we have to maintain that we have to fix and maintain expensive projects on to keep these schools running? That's unacceptable.
I get it.
And I remember when these principals did go to the legislature because they were contemplating extending the lease. And they were sharing those. So I don't know what happened, but Lester Carlson is saying nobody came to us. The principals did go to the legislature. They did. We watched this public hearing maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and they explained what is happening. They explained how many times that their own faculty are spending their own money, or their own maintenance workers are fixing or repairing things in these schools that aren't our schools yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we got a sour deal on it. I mean, if that's the case, right? I mean,
that's what the principal said on the record, that they definitely got a sour case.
Yeah.
Because every time they reach out to the management company, the company that manages the maintenance, they're either getting the cold shoulder, and I believe this maintenance company is not even on island. It's like subcontracted to maintenance, to another maintenance company here in Guam that goes and does the maintenance.
well, I think, there should be a provision in a contract that, okay, the last 2 payments will not be made until we do a walkthrough with the school to see if there's any discrepancies in terms
Otherwise,
of,
fix it.
Yeah, and because we're not going to pay you.
Well, we've been paying, right? It's our, and so the argument too, also when Lester is saying, well, you know, they will be ours. Well, then that means that you're not paying anymore, right? You no longer have to pay the lease, so they're ours. So where's that money gonna go?
True.
That money that you are set to pay them, isn't that money that can go to maintenance? From what I have been told, and I'm not 100% sure. This is something I have to get clarity on, and I don't know who I get clarity from. Maybe DOA. Is that we paid some of this on the front end, like a good amount of the interest, right? I have to get clarity on it. So maybe we're done with that for a while, and that's why Lester is saying, well, there is no excess money. The money that we've already set aside has been appropriated for something else. Maybe that's why he's saying, because when I think about if you're paying these businesses that essentially own these schools, and then you no longer have to pay them because they're ours now, then that money that you would usually pay them would go towards the maintenance of the schools.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why. Maybe because that money has already been accounted for, another project has already been set aside. So that totally could be it. But I just want to get clarity if that is it. I could be totally wrong on it, and there are many times where I am. So let's see here, because we don't have time to hit the next one. So the next one that I do want to share, because there was, again, this meeting was a little over 3 hours long. Maybe almost 4 hours if I'm not mistaken. But the next one that I do want to hit on is when Lester Carlson starts to talk about ARPA money. This is the 104. We don't need any more clarity. This is it. So much has been said about this $104 million of ARPA money that is left. Lester is openly saying on the record that they are taking some of the 104 and using it for things like the island-wide road projects, road pavement projects, like the new fire station in Sinahanya off of Route 4, like DOA taking some of that money so they can help maintain the current hospital.
But it's been said all over everywhere that they cannot touch the 104 million. So how did that come about?
You're going to hear it. Lester had a conversation with U.S. Treasury, and U.S. Treasury openly says, we don't want to have to take any money back. We would rather the jurisdictions that we gave this money to spend it. So, I mean, it's good news, but it's also like, it is frustrating to hear that the narrative has been this for so long, almost all the way. Like, nope, absolutely not. Directors were on the record during special session to bypass the AG's signature and move forward with the contract at Mangilao, right? And there were directors or deputy directors or people that are closely associated with the project that were at the session saying, do you want to lose $104 million? That's what's going to happen. We're going to give away free money. I heard it too, and I didn't think it was right either. However, here we are today, June 10, and you have the director of BBMR saying that the U.S. Treasury says, yeah, if you've got projects, spend the money.
Wow.
And so you'll hear him say it on the other side of this. 3 o'clock on the dot, KGUM FM in Dededo, Guam.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. It's early Thursday morning in Bahrain, and missile alert sirens have been going off. This as Iran says it will retaliate for a new round of U.S. airstrikes. President Trump telling reporters Wednesday,
"We're going to be attacking them very hard."
Resuming bombing?
Yeah, well, we are. Based on the helicopter, I guess we have the right to do that. You know, they shot down a very incredible, actually an incredible machine.
U.S. Central Command says it's striking multiple targets in Iran in response to what it describes as Iran's unwarranted and continued aggression. Oil prices rose on news of earlier strikes. Meanwhile, the Labor Department says rising gasoline prices drove inflation to its highest level in 3 years last month.
Consumer prices rose 4.2%, the third straight monthly increase. President Trump's reaction?
I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now.
The president feels gas prices will drop once the Iran war ends, but when that happens is unclear. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one, but nearly 17 months since taking office, he and his MAGA majorities in Congress haven't lifted a finger to lower American costs.
Prices have now risen faster than wages for several months. I'm Ed Donahue.
President Trump signed a bill providing nearly $70 billion for immigration enforcement. And Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates testified before a House committee about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, calling meeting him a grave error in judgment. This is AP News. A World Cup referee back home after being denied entry to the U.S.
Omar Altan was going to be the first referee from Somalia to officiate at a World Cup after making FIFA's final list for the tournament. On Wednesday, many Somalis gathered at Mogadishu Airport to greet Altan on his return. Youth activist Mohamed Antabo salutes one of the East African country's rising stars.
We are here to welcome our hero, Omar Altan. It's really great to see that young Somalis can excel and succeed in world stage.
On Tuesday, the head of the Somali Football Federation told the AP denying Altan this chance would have a significant impact on him and the wider Somali soccer community. He'd been denied entry at Miami International Airport on Saturday over vetting concerns, Customs and Border Protection said without giving details. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
There's more news at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to KGUM-FM Dedido, Wave 105.1 FM, the talk of Guam, a proud Glimpses media radio station.
Guam, get ready. On Sunday, June 14th, the Tuma Night Market becomes the stage for something extraordinary. Triple J Mazda invites you to the official unveiling of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. See all four models revealed together. Close your eyes and open your senses. Enjoy complimentary Mazda giveaways and product samples while supplies last. One night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Only the Tuma Night Market, Sunday, June 14th.
My name is Emma. I am 13 years old. 6 years ago, I was injured in a car accident that left me paralyzed from the waist down. Once I completed rehab, my mom applied for a canine companion service dog. Last January, I finally got to meet my service dog, Marcia. We quickly developed a very strong bond. Together, we go to my horseback riding lessons, school band practice, swim meets, and archery classes. Together, we pick vegetables, and we like to cut flowers. I love Marcia. She makes me feel like together we can do anything. I can't imagine life without her. She's a part of the family. We are just one of the thousands of teams Canine Companions has paired together over the past 50 years. With your help, we can continue for another 50. Visit canine.org to see the many ways you can change lives.
I can tell that we are gonna be friends.
Do you hear that? And that? And that? Those are the sounds of a healthy and vibrant community. And to this United Way volunteer, nothing sounds better. They're the sounds of children being given greater chances to succeed in school. The sounds of neighbors receiving the support needed to overcome challenges, both big and small. They're the sounds of families gaining access to quality health care and nutritious food for their tables. And they're the sounds of members of our community who've benefited from United Way's financial education programs. See, wherever there's a need in our communities, there's a United Way. People working together to respond and growing the good for everyone. United is the way. So join us by getting involved or giving back. Learn more at unitedway.org.
Talking about guns with others might not always feel comfortable, but it could save a life. Here's a way to start a conversation. Your family is going over to your neighbor's home for dinner for the first time. How would you ask if there are any unlocked guns in the home?
Hey. Hey, we're so excited for tonight. Before we come over, may I ask a few questions?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog.
Great. Do you have a pool outside?
Nope, just a big old backyard.
Nice. Another question. Are there any unlocked guns in the home?
Our guns are stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's just talk about what we can bring for dessert.
Learn how to have the conversation at agreetoagree.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Guam, get ready. On Sunday, June 14th, the Tuma Night Market becomes the stage for something extraordinary. Triple J Mazda invites you to the official unveiling of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. See all 4 models revealed together. Close your eyes and open your senses. Enjoy complimentary Mazda giveaways and product samples while supplies last. One night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Only the Tuma Night Market, Sunday, June 14th.
Celebrate Dad in style at Roots Hills Grill House at Guam Plaza Resort. Join our special Father's Day brunch with prime cuts, seafood, and sweet treats. Adults, $85. Children, $42.50. Make it a day Dad won't forget.
The road to Adelup is set. This time, we sit down with Democrat candidates Senator Joe San Agustin and former Senator Dwayne San Nicolas. Catch the full conversation that took place on May 8th on the Wave 105 YouTube channel. Stay informed and hear their vision for Guam's future. Wave 105 is a Glimpses of Guam radio station.
Into the hour of 3 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We are KGUM FM Dedido Guam, Wave 105. This is the BrightSide. Standing by, the host of the show, Mr. Pauly Suba.
All right, let's thank our sponsors here, and that's Triple J. One night, one reveal, one all new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Join Triple J Mazda at the Tuma Night Market Sunday, June 14. Designed to move you. Subway, you got to refresh to be fresh. Chili's Grill and Bar. At Chili's, more life, great food, and memories happen here. And GTA, we start with you. 671-922-1051 or 1052. We are online, thewave105.com, as well as our YouTube channel, Wave 105.1 FM Guam. So again, when it comes to ARPA money, BBMR Director Lester Carlson at the Special Economic Services meeting yesterday said the administration is working hard to make sure Guam does not return any American Rescue Plan money to the federal government. The money must not only be assigned to projects, it must actually be spent by the end of this calendar year, so December 31, 2026. And then you'll hear him share what projects they're going to be working on. You'll hear the Village Street paving through DPW and Hawaiian Rock. Other ARP-funded work includes the fire station in Sinahanya, right? And I think you'll hear a little bit more. Also, the chairman, Senator Chris Duenas, wants to clarify that Guam had about $104 million in ARPA funds remaining, and the balance was reduced by about $20 million, then another $20 million, leaving roughly $64 million still being worked through. The caveat with the U.S. Treasury, at this point, you're going to hear Lester Carlson say, as long as there was a contract in place before December 31 of last year, they can use these ARPA monies. And so that doesn't just mean the Mingilao infrastructure project. I mean, like any, because clearly it is any at this point, because DPW is getting 20. They're using ARPA money for the fire station. But we're going to play it so you can hear it for yourself.
The reimbursement for FEMA 90%. For the public sector, the government pays for the bill because FEMA won't reimburse us until we actually incur the cost. And then we reclaim the amount for FEMA and it goes back into the account that the total amount expenditure came from. There's been no hold up on the regular FEMA claims.
Okay, so Lester, on DOA's ARP.
Well, how about ARP in general?
Okay.
Yeah, so the report that we provide to you every 5th of the month, we are really trying to make sure that we don't return a penny to the federal government. We're cleaning up some negative balances that are in that report. We're trying to spend down the funds that were allocated to the new hospital. Fortunately, the U.S. Treasury provided guidance via a reclassification guide in April of this year that would allow for funds to be infused into existing projects that, for example, the work that's being done by DPW for Village Street paving. They had a contract with Hawaiian Rock that precedes December 31st of 2024. So Director Arreola was very confident that his folks, in collaboration with Hawaiian Rock, could use additional funds to be able to do more Village Street paving. That's ordinarily funded by the liquid fuel tax that we suspended. So we thought that was a great use of funds to be able to benefit villagers, in a most direct fashion. So anything that has the eligibility that, like a contract that was in place before December 31st of 2024, we're looking at very closely. You'll also note on the report there's a Sinahanya fire station that broke ground. We've asked the contractor to submit a bid adjustment to be able to complete that project in its entirety before December of this year. And he's obliged, thankfully. So we will see a new fire station up in Sinahanya before the end of this fiscal year. There's a lot of things that we're trying to do, and the reclassification guide has been very helpful. It's very apparent, Mr. Byrne and I are really of the opinion that the folks at Treasury don't want us to return any money. They don't want anybody who received this money to return the money. They'd like to see it spent in the jurisdictions that were provided the funding. So we're working very diligently to try to expend, not just encumber, because we have to expend it before the end of this calendar year. And we're making some strides, and we'll keep you updated on how we're doing. I just think that the application of the funds for village street paving is a win-win for everybody. It takes some of the burden off of your budgeting requirements, knowing that there is going to be additional work done where the funding is being offset. And I think that's, nobody should have anything but like sighs of relief and attaboys for that initiative. So it's a work in progress. We're diligently trying to find eligible projects that can be done, because we don't want to be in a situation where we allocated money and all of a sudden, like, you know, we've got the big letdown at the end. So Mr. Byrne and I are being very super cautious about what it is that we advise the governor to allocate these monies to. But in the end, we don't want to return a penny. Okay.
All right, so you just heard, right? Again, Lester Carlson said ARP money may also help complete a fire station project in Sinahanya. The contractor was asked to submit an adjusted bid so the project can be completed before the end of the year. I don't even think that they just had a groundbreaking, so that is a very ambitious project. I really do hope that goes up. I guess it is a realistic number for a whole fire station to go up before the end of the year, an entire building, because I'm looking at that Mangilau facility, the biolab facility over by UOG Fieldhouse, or no, not UOG Fieldhouse, just by the UOG campus. It's right next to the repository.
Yeah.
And I swear that building didn't go up as fast as this fire station, but sure. Again, Carlson says that the U.S. Treasury guidance from April, so they had guidance as early as April, so just 2 months ago, right? That allows Guam to move ARP money into certain existing projects, as long as the project had a contract in place. And he says before December 31, 2024. So not even 31, 2025. I thought it was 2025, but you heard him multiple times say 2024.
So contracts existing back then.
Remember when we were talking to Senator Chris Duenas and you were saying, oh, it's a fair game. And he goes, well, I would say as long as the project was shovel ready.
Yeah.
That's basically what needs to happen. You need to look at some contracts, some projects that go all the way back to December 31, 2024, and you can put that money on that project.
Yeah.
And so now it's starting to make sense. And that's all I was trying to get from the administration was more clarity ever since, because I perked up when when DPW was having their budget hearing. And Vince Ariola, the director of DPW, started talking about, like, here's some really great news. We're getting $20 million for road pavement projects. I'm like, well, where's that? What? I thought the only ARPA money we got is the 104 for the infrastructure project back in Back Road. And even Senator Chris Duenas asked, is that $20 million from the $104 million project? He goes, I don't know.
Crickets.
Like, he says, I can't tell you. So I asked the question, never got a direct answer. But it's starting to make sense, because even Governor Lulian Guerrero at times where she goes, we're probably going to have to return some money. And so I think she's correct. If we can't find enough shovel-ready projects that go back to December 31, 2024 or 2025, because now that's the new question. Wait a minute, because you said you appropriated money December 31 of 2025. You appropriated that project. You allocated 104 to that project. And the date was 31/2025.
How's this for a
so
project?
Now 2024?
How's this for a project? Because it goes back way, way, way back. Simon Sanchez.
But it won't be done by December 31, 2026.
True.
Remember, the project has to be done by December 31, 2026. That's the other caveat.
Kind of makes me go back to Speaker Frank's letter to D.C. Asking if they can do something other than
Yeah, we
the
were
hospital.
still waiting for that letter. But, there's... do you think we can get an electric panel finished by December 31 of 2026?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's
there you
already.
go.
Yeah, I mean, man.
So there you
There's
go.
so many ways to skin this $88 million cat.
Yeah, and
But-
so if we can't, then we stand to lose.
Definitely.
And return, because again, he says the U.S. Treasury would rather not you return any. They would rather the money be spent in the jurisdiction that it was awarded to, right? And so they got clarification in April, but I never saw a press release.
None.
I never saw a press release stating that.
Yeah, I mean, that should have been the biggest news. Hey, guys, we got $104 million to
We
finish
got
projects.
confirmation from the U.S. Treasury in April.
Wow.
That we can spend this money on other projects.
Well, it's on the record thanks to Lester, so yeah. But wow.
Okay, so we're going to fast forward to about an hour and 21, right?
Yeah.
This is BJ Cruz, the OPA. And he calls out directors. He basically says, man, unfortunately, there are so many agency heads or maybe even administrators that are paper pushers.
Mm-hmm.
What good are you if you don't know how to manage federal grants or procurement? And so he is asking the University of Guam to make sure that they add that into their curriculum over at the public administration class, right? So anybody that is trying to get a bachelor's in public administration and master's, he's asking that UOG add that into the curriculum. And you'll hear BJ Cruz, the public auditor, say, if you don't know how to manage federal grants and you don't know how to manage procurement, then you're no good to the government.
Wow. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so that's good news, and the committee also is scheduling meetings with the auditor, the audits to EY, to be able to also get some details as well. Speaker Cruz, do you have some comments?
Yes, an additional comment, and I'm sorry that no one's here from the university, but I have spoken to the vice president of the university. Because of the importance of the compliance report, and because of the fact that GovGuam receives millions, if not billions of dollars in federal funds, I've tried to explain to the university that training their bachelors of public administration and their masters of public administration should include training on operating and managing, applying for, operating, managing federal grants. If not, I don't know what public administration is doing there, because that is a major portion. And they also should include in their curriculum procurement, because it is such a huge part of the expenditures of public administrators, and the fact that they need to know these things. I'm hoping they'll include it in their curriculum. They've said they're going to include it in some adjunct group, that the global something or other, they have a side thing at the university that's going to, and I'm trying to convince them that it should be part of the curriculum of those in the public administration, and both for the masters and the public and the bachelors. I'm glad that at one point there was a professor at the, or adjunct professor at the University of Shirag, who had procurement as the class that he taught, or at least that was the major issue in his class for the year. But it's imperative that when you come out of public administration, you know that you have that background, so that you can handle procurement, so that you can handle and manage federal programs. Otherwise, you're just a paper pusher that's worthless, because I don't know what requirement they need for these program managers if they don't know how to use federal programs, they're worthless. Excuse me, but it's a nice position to name people to, but unless they really know how to do that, they really aren't going to be able to much assistance to the department. So the programs they're supposed to be running, which are federal programs, they don't know how to because they have not read the compliance reports. They don't know what the OMB rulings are and how to be able to follow up on them. And so I'm really hoping the university will include it.
And Mr. Chairman.
All right, and that's also Ed Byrne, the director of DOA, that agrees. Okay, so I'll walk it back. He didn't necessarily say directors and deputy directors. He does say program managers. And if they don't know how to manage procurement or federal grants, then they're just simply paper pushers, and they're no good they're useless. No use to the government. But I would also add, too, though, that I hope that is also a requirement for a deputy director or a director to have an understanding and be certified in procurement. It's interesting, too, because I never heard of this until just yesterday when Senator Tello Taitagui, we're not going to play the audio clip, but she does say it, that GCC has procurement certification classes. However, she says that those that are teaching don't even know procurement. So I was very concerned about that. Wait a minute. How can you be teaching procurement if you yourself are not an expert on it? And so that means that they're just like facilitators. That means they just open the door and let you walk in, and basically you're on the computer, and what happens if you have questions? That it's on you, because you can't ask that person because that person can't help you. So it's almost like we're setting ourselves up for failure.
I agree.
Let's do one more before we get to the break. This is Guam Visitors Bureau, Regine Bisco-Lee, the president. She's talking about the visitor outlook for the year. And so she talks a little bit about destination management, but the big meat of what I want to share with us here on the Bright Side is what she talks about specifically on the outlook on Guam's tourism.
Memorial Beach Park in Ipao. This year's theme will be culture, cuisine, and seafaring. So that's slated for October of this year. Next slide. We also continue to put on the weekly Sunday Tuman Night Market. This was recently moved further south towards Tuman Sands Plaza, and Mr. Chair, it draws crowds from local military and the visitor community, and this is one of the many ways that GBB is increasing local participation in our industry. We have about 40 to 50 small businesses and vendors that attract about 25 to 3,500 residents, visitors, and military personnel each week, generating valuable economic opportunities for local businesses while enhancing the visitor experience in Tuman. So continue to look out for those events weekly. Next slide. In terms of destination maintenance, we spend a lot of our time really trying to restore from the typhoon, but also continue to beautify areas in Tuman and throughout the island where visitors are spending their time, and we have lots of points of interest data that help to support some of this work. These are some photos of our GBB maintenance team at work. We also have visitor safety officers, beach safety officers, and a concierge program to provide 24/7 service in language to our visitors. That's available at the Guam International Airport and at GPO. Next slide. Just a few quick updates in terms of marketing. Korea remains our largest market. And next slide. In March, we addressed our GVB membership regarding impending fuel surcharge increases that we were anticipating from airlines. So we worked with our source market teams to develop the Guam Fare Advantage program. The first period of the program runs from April through June 30th, and we've identified a number of goals for this program across our markets. And so here's some of the breakdowns for Korea. A few days ago, we concluded a successful Seoul International Travel Fair, along with 12 of our GVB members, pictured here, to promote Guam in our largest source markets. Again, Mr. Chair, we're actively engaging our partners and doing what we can to combat this fuel surcharge and some foreign exchange challenges in both Korea and Japan. Next slide. In terms of Japan, we are focusing on a variety of projects to stimulate traveler demand, increase brand awareness, and targeting audiences through culinary activations and focusing on sports tourism and educational tourism as outlined in these projects here. Next slide. Turning to the Philippines and Taiwan now, we also just concluded a successful Guam with Me event at the Glorieta Activity Center in Makati, Philippines over the weekend. And we currently, I think they leave today. We have a MICE fam tour out of Taiwan. They recently visited the Guahan Sustainable Culture at Hamamoto Gardens yesterday, and we're taking on a number of different tours and attractions across our island to really help to stimulate travel out of Taiwan. Next slide. In terms of the impact and outlook, I'd like to share visitor arrival numbers. We have some fiscal year-to-date numbers that I'd like to share. So from October 2025 through mid-May 26, our current market mix remains unchanged. So the lion's share of folks are visiting us 45% out of Korea, 35% out of Japan, and based on year-over-year arrivals, we're looking at a 10% increase from this period, the same period last year. And again, senators, just want to re-emphasize, these numbers are directly derived from the Customs Declaration form. So that QR code that you fill out when you return home to Guam, these reflect visitor arrivals. It does not include resident counts. So residents, when you fill out the survey on the QR code, we're able to separate those numbers out. And just wanted to emphasize that that's where we get our numbers. And we also enlist the help of a renowned third party, Tourism Economics. They are an Oxford company, and they help to analyze a number of our satellite accounts. Next slide. To provide us with this economic impact snapshot. So here are some highlights based off of the 2025 calendar year numbers. These numbers are up from calendar year 24, so from 1.1 billion up to 1.2 billion in direct visitor spending. That's in addition to 1.6 billion up from 1.4 in total economic impact. The total jobs supported were 14,400 in the year 24, and they're up to 15.1 thousand. And in terms of local Guam taxes, we're talking about corporate income taxes, withholding, and of course the hotel occupancy taxes. That is also up from about 150 million to 163 million in the year 2025. This 163 million in government revenues represents about 12% of our overall GovGuam budget. And so GVB really multiplies that local investment that you have given us. In the year 25 was about $22 million invested by the Guam legislature, and we've turned that around 7 times that amount in local Guam taxes. And again, these data sources include visitor arrivals data from GVB, the wage and employment data from Guam Department of Labor, price data from Bureau of Statistics and Plans, and a number of other sources to give us this tourism satellite account number and provide this economic impact. Next slide. We also wanted to present a chart on government revenues over time since 2021. And so in terms of the total tax revenues, you see, again, personal income tax, corporate, indirect business, social insurance, hotel occupancy tax over the years from 2021 to today, gross receipts and special revenues. And just want to underscore the point that without tourism, Guam households would need to contribute an additional $3,700 every year in taxes. So I don't have $3,700 extra to spend or contribute in taxes, and I know a lion's share of our taxpayers and the working families of Guam don't either. It's very important that we support our tourism industry and help to continue to provide that benefit so we can fund our priority areas of health, education, and public safety. Next slide. In terms of the FY26 forecast, you can see that we've kind of been trending in the moderate zone for many of our arrivals. We had a nice uptick in December where we were hovering between moderate and optimistic, and then a downturn in April following Super Typhoon Sinlaku and some fuel surcharge issues. Also, many flights were canceled during that week of the typhoon. So we're really trying to lay the groundwork now to ensure that our peak season truly is peak. We thank the legislature for your support in giving us additional incentive funds so we can go out there and push. We also are looking at the months of July and August. A number of our airline partners that had suspended flights are looking to resume in those months. So we continue to keep the legislature updated about that and our community updated about that. Next slide. In terms of the FY27 forecast, this is based on available information to us as well as the cyclical nature of our tourism industry. It's subject to change, and we revisit these numbers every quarter. But in terms of the conservative scenario, we're looking at 774,964 arrivals, a moderate forecast of 934,000, and then an optimistic forecast, Mr. Chair, of 1.1 million visitors in fiscal year 27.
All right, there you go. That's their, again, Regine Bisco Lee, right? And so she says that arrivals are up compared to last year. And so, yeah, GVB can measure visitor arrivals, visitor spending, hotel occupancy rates, airline seat capacity, website traffic, and digital campaign performances. They are aware of Guam and target markets such as Japan and South Korea. They can show that a marketing campaign reached millions of people and that bookings increased afterwards. But I want to see not just the economic impact of visitors, but GVB's economic impact. Because a visitor may have traveled because of airline promotions and hotel discounts and family connections, but in reality, tourism decisions are influenced by the visitor. And so when GVB or tourism studies say visitors generated hundreds of millions of dollars or billions in economic activity, that usually represents the impact of a visitor themselves, not necessarily GVB. Mm-hmm. And that's just it's a hard question, it's a tough question, but it's a fair question to ask. Because if we're spending all of this money, right, which is well-deserved, and there's no doubt that visitors are adding to our economy. I'm not saying we should get rid of tourism. Tourism is a big part of our economy. But we do need to make a harder look at how we are spending our dollars. We can't just openly, not anymore, just openly say, oh, that's your idea? Here's the funding for it. No, we need to really take a hard look on some of these initiatives that we're going to do moving forward. especially when you're lowering the BPT from 4.5 to 4. Because it's nice to have that, but I don't know. I can also argue that we're just not doing enough to maintain the places, the natural beauty that we already have. And what good is it to spend all of this marketing money in the Philippines and Japan and have these great events, which are fantastic? And don't get me wrong, the employees at GVB are amazing. They're hard workers. They're experts. They know what's going down. They've got it. They're using the technology the right way. But what good is all of that? And then they drive down south and they see all the graffiti everywhere on all of our historic parks. Or the restroom is locked. It's not on GVB to maintain the restroom. But you're not working together with DPW, or DPW's not working well enough. So we really have to take a hard look on how we're going to spend our dollar and invest in our visitor market. 3:41 in the afternoon. Let's take the break. Wave 105.
You want to just go ahead and we'll do
Oh, yeah.
traffic?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. All right. As Pauly said, 3:41 in the afternoon, and that means our first look at traffic, the roads of Guam. He's going to help you move forward through your daily commute along with Guam Auto Spot. Buenas, Pauly.
All right, let's check out my handy-dandy glimpses of Guam traffic app here. I don't see too many issues right now. What is it, 3:41 in the afternoon? Let's check out we'll get you a kind reminder from the Guam Transportation Program. So, island-wide primary roads, paving and pavement markings are happening on Route 10. Construction activities will continue along Route 10 from June 8 to June 13. Contractor crews will be working at various locations along Route 10 throughout the week. Intermittent lane closures in both directions are expected during work hours. Striping work at the Corten Torres and Route 10 intersection is going down. And then Saturday, June 13, between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., there could be some pavement repairs at Route 10, at the Route 10 and Route 4 intersection. There is no work scheduled on Sunday, June 14. However, they may be performed between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. if needed. Remember, motorists are advised to expect traffic delays and plan their travel time accordingly. Please use alternate routes and follow posted detour signs. Reduce speed and comply with the posted limits when passing through the work zone. Once again, helping you move forward on this Hot Miss Thursday. That's Guam Auto Spot. Schedule that test drive today. Call them up, 478-AUTO. View their inventory on their website at guamautospot.com.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
Under the Constitution, America is a republic. The First Amendment secures our ability to change our political laws by protecting our rights to religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. We're the only country born from the idea that people must be free to pursue their happiness, uninhibited by the government. This has kept us as one nation under God through 2.5 centuries of peaceful transition of power. The United States are at the top of the world today, but the graveyard of history is full of the remains of once mighty empires. Will our republic degenerate into an oligarchy as Rome did 2,000 years ago? Or is the best yet to come for the land of the free? Jefferson warned how easy it is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground. This process is not unstoppable. The future of America depends on our support for the principles of the Constitution. It's an American thing.
Liberty. It's an American thing. From AmericanThing.org.
The road to Adelup is set. This time, we sit down with Democrat candidates Senator Joe San Agustin and former Senator Dwayne San Nicolas. Catch the full conversation that took place on May 8th on the Wave 105 YouTube channel. Stay informed and hear their vision for Guam's future. Wave 105 is a Glimpses of Guam radio station.
We're digging into the fresh harvest today, looking back at a legendary food fight where fresh produce accidentally became a high-powered cleaning agent. Welcome to the National Day Spotlight for June 11th.
As we celebrate National Fruit and Vegetable Month, our focus turns to the ultimate paradox of Spain's famous La Tomatina festival. Every summer, 20,000 tourists pack into the town square of Bonel to pelt each other with over 100 metric tons of crushed, overripe tomatoes, turning the village into a literal river of red sludge. The aftermath reveals a brilliant scientific surprise. Tomatoes naturally contain high concentrations of citric and malic acid. When the massive mess is washed down the historic cobblestone streets, this natural acidity acts as a powerful deep cleaning polish, leaving the town significantly cleaner and brighter than it was before the battle began.
I just think this is so much fun to think about, but I'm not really sure I want those rotten tomatoes thrown at me.
I wonder if we get squeaky clean by cleaning the tomatoes off us, too.
We probably would,
Wow.
you know? I don't know. It's
How long does
just,
it have to sit on you?
I'm not sure I
Was
want to
it good
find
at
out.
wart removal?
Probably not. We're also celebrating National Making Life Beautiful Day and National Corn on the Cob Day. I'm Alice Anderson.
And I'm Marlo Anderson with National Day Calendar, reminding you to celebrate every day.
If you're looking for world-class website hosting at a fair price, Pair Networks is your best choice. Founded in the early days of the web and still going strong today, Pair Networks now hosts over 150,000 websites for its demanding customers worldwide. Setting the standards for excellence, Pair Networks has a technical and support staff that's second to none. A highly stable company with top-of-the-line technology, Pair Networks offers total reliability and flexibility for your website, and even a money-back guarantee. Whether you're a professional web designer or a beginner just getting your site online, Pair Networks has a web hosting plan that's right for you. Make the move today. Log on and learn more at pair.com. That's PAIR.com. Pair Networks. World-class web hosting at a fair price. Visit us at pair.com. Pair Networks.
Balanced, fair, thoughtful. Wave 105 FM.
Back to the show, 3:48 in the afternoon. This is the BrightSide right here on Wave 105. Sending it back to the host, Mr. Pauly Suba.
Welcome back. Viva Hot Biss.
Viva.
671-922-1051 or 1052. We're online to wave105.com as well as our YouTube channel, Wave 105.1 FM Guam. I'm seeing the release come in now.
Okay.
So far, I imagine more will come out from the gubernatorial teams.
Okay.
This one comes in. It just came in from the Blas Okada team.
Okay.
So again, there was a debate that happened today. Was it?
More
Is
like
it a debate?
Meet the candidates or meet the teams type thing.
Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce June members in action gubernatorial forum. It was held today in Tumon. The Blas Okada, I'll just read the release, says that they joined fellow gubernatorial candidates at a forum hosted by the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce during its June Members in Action meeting, where they outlined a vision for Guam built on experienced leadership, accountable government, and expanded opportunities for future generations. Throughout the discussion, the Blas Okada team emphasized transparency, strategic planning and measurable results while addressing issues ranging from economic development and public safety to women's advancement, education, and workforce development. The team advocated for qualified leadership throughout government, stronger partnerships to grow Guam's economy, and increased opportunities for women to lead and succeed in the workforce. They also called for educational reforms focused on student success, accountability, and preparing Guam's next generation for meaningful careers and long-term success. Speaker Frank Blas Jr. said, "My background in law enforcement, emergency management, and disaster response has taught me how important it is to respond when people need help." He said, "With the partnership Mary and I provide, we bring together our experience and our strengths to do our best." I'm trying to look for a statement from, okay, here we go. This is Mary Okada. "We need to find out what the barriers are and help resolve them when it comes to mentorship, networking, leadership opportunities," right? Child care, elder care, and transportation are some of the key challenges women face. We can't just identify women as contributing to the workforce. Women are drivers in the workforce. They move industries forward through active engagement. And that's why women need to be part of the decision-making process. Again, that is Mary Okada. Oh, here's one more quote, and then we'll go to the phone call. Let's focus first on the student when it comes to education. What does the student need to be successful? Educational success doesn't happen by accident. It requires planning, accountability, and a commitment to ensuring that every decision we make supports student achievement and future workforce opportunities. All right, that's like half of the release, but I don't want to leave Jason on the line for too long. Hafa Jason, you're on the air.
Hey, Pauly.
Hey, Hafa.
Hey, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I was listening. I was really listening intently to when you were playing back all that information from Lester to Mr. Burns to Miss Jean Bisco Lee. Oh my goodness, man! I like what you were mentioning about the tourism part.
I'm listening.
Okay, you hit the nail right on the head about the beaches and everything, and you know it's because what do most of these tourists come here for?
Yeah, for the natural beauty, the blue sky. I mean,
yes,
GVB says it
beauty.
themselves. They say it themselves. The blue skies and the blue, well, not blue, but the clear ocean, right? And the warm weather and the warm hospitality.
Yes, we're pretty much the more cost-effective version of Hawaii,
right?
Because you don't have to travel as far.
Right.
You know, we're only a 3-hour flight versus how many hours to Hawaii?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
right?
And we have it's the same ocean.
Yeah,
you know, it's the same ocean.
Yes.
So and you're right. It's I'm even scared to sometimes go with my family down to some places because one, for safety, number two, the trash that they throw in the jungle. You know, those places are never kept clean. And I know they're trying their best, but there's something that has to be done. And then, like you said, the infrastructure. You know, fixing up all these places where it looks aesthetically pleasing for tourists to actually want to go to these hot spots. You know, I don't. I'm almost embarrassed.
I mean, look, for example, what are the most popular beach and park that we have is Ipao Beach, right? Governor
Correct,
Joseph Flores
yes.
Park. And so from afar, it looks like, wow, it's so beautiful. But then when you get closer into where the pavilions are, clearly we need to renovate those pavilions and those benches in there.
Yes,
they're
those things have
breaking.
been-
The tables are
yes.
breaking.
That they're breaking.
Yes.
The concrete.
Yes.
It's already spalling.
Yes.
You know, and Pauly, that's ever since we were kids. You know.
Yes. So what good
we're
is,
going
I mean,
back to the 80s.
all we're doing is putting lipstick on a pig by just repainting them over and over. We're not actually repairing these benches and tables.
Yeah, we need to stop doing that. And you're right. We absolutely need to fix those things. You know, and it aesthetically is not. Why would anybody from another country come over and they'll be scared to even walk in those places because they might get sick or catch something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty bad. And then the promotion of does anybody here on the island actually know of any, nice places that you can go as far as like nature?
We know a few, right? Because of just because we live here, right?
Tanago,
Yeah.
Tanago Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can
well-
go hiking and whatnot, but even just like, so the sad part is, like, even our military know this. They already know it's dangerous to go to Marble Cave and it's dangerous to go to Sigua Falls. Why? Because your car is probably going to get broken into while
Yes,
you're leaving.
yes, right. And that's been a big story because
Yes.
people if they're not breaking in, they're punching holes into the
Yes,
gas tank.
yes.
And that's why
Yes.
nobody wants to go there anymore.
Nobody wants to go there, and definitely. Well, I don't know about Marble Cave anymore because of the whole situation that happened with the landslide and whatnot, the man-made landslide,
and it just ruined the water.
Right. But
You know?
that was a big tourist spot, and before that incident, it looked beautiful just naturally. However, people know that it's notorious for getting broken into, your car getting broken into. And that's not a new thing. And that's in a number of places. And so I'm not even necessarily saying that we have to provide surveillance. But even where the parking area is, it's not very well kept, right? It makes
Yeah.
it easy for these
predators to actually go over there.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And you're absolutely right. And that needs to be brought in with Parks and Recs to figure out some type of plan. Because if people are going to go there, and you're right. I mean, though it's far away from Epal Beach, it's still a landmark where people would like to go.
Sure.
And it's still marketable.
Mm-hmm.
Even like Fort Soledad. Places that have the historical monuments. Do people even realize that there are still landmarks from the Spanish time over in Umatec?
So I haven't been
does-
down there in a while, right? But it's been a couple months. Humatec, Fort Soledad. The
Yes.
watchtower? The last time I was there, there's this huge there's graffiti on the watchtower.
That's what I'm saying. And the people of Umatec hate that.
Yeah.
The tradition over there is they have all their young kids actually go through the whole spiel of learning how to actually be tour guides. So everybody
Wow, I
in the
didn't know
village
that.
plays a very vital role over there.
And
they take pride.
And Mayor Bada says it's not his residents that is doing it.
Yes, because the residents of Umatec take care of that place. I'm not kidding you. The teenagers there are very involved in taking the people around and knowing every historic mark in that area.
Right. And
You
then
know, and people need
also
to understand.
the cannons that are there, they're not the actual cannon, but where it sits on, they're broken.
That's my point. These are landmarks that they need to be revisited and actually repaired so that we can show these tourists what we have. And then I'm not hearing anything about sports tourism that much.
We might have a little bit of that because just yesterday there was a bill that was introduced to possibly put another soccer field not too far from this studio. And I don't know if you're aware that there are a number of soccer fields that are going to get that they are putting together: Talafofo, Talampago, Hogat, and then if this one here in the Barragata Heights area gets established, so there's that. And so as we got that's great news, but we also have to maintain the ones that we already have. There's an oversight hearing that's happening right now. Maybe it's over, but DPW to get an update on what are we doing with Paseo Stadium.
There you go. Right when you said it, I was about to say it.
Yeah.
Tony, Pauly, that stadium has been a really great place. I remember going there as a kid. I used to go down there when the Tokyo Giants were down there practicing.
Even
And
if
they
it's not
brought
the
in a lot of
Giants,
people.
the Pepsi Giants, if the AK Islanders, I'll go to just see our local
The
baseball.
games were packed.
Yes.
The games were packed.
Right.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah.
We have that's a regulated official baseball stadium. That's the same length as stadiums back in the state.
Yeah. And there's so much
We have one
history.
here.
There's so much history in that stadium, and we're just letting it rot.
Exactly. You know, they've been, you know, with the exception of concerts, because I don't really like having concerts down there.
Right.
That facility can actually generate so much.
Right.
And, you know, you can bring, you know, having the Little League players come in there. Pauly, have you ever played in a stadium before?
No, I haven't. The last time I played organized baseball was T-ball. That was one of the funnest times of my life.
I was one of the fortunate ones when I played in the Guam Eagles to play in Aloha Stadium.
Wow.
You know what energy
I do.
that is like
They
as
were
a kid?
yes.
play
GYFL was
in a
sending
stadium.
kids there. Yes, I remember that.
Your adrenaline is so pumped when you're playing in there. It's so exciting. Can you imagine if we use Paseo for our kids to play championship games in there?
Yeah.
You are going to boost the confidence and the morale of so many teams here to play championship games in our stadium that we have.
Right.
We're scraping places for these kids to play because we can't even fix something that we have.
Yes. Yeah.
And why are not, you know, it's taking forever for people to understand that we have great things here. And you are right. I was smiling when you're saying that it's a disarray. We need to start from the basics and fix our island so that not only, you know, tourists, but people that are living here can have great pride in that. You build that stadium back up and you have championship games there for Little League. Watch what wonders that's going to do for these kids.
Absolutely.
You're going to have kids wanting to sign up because, man, I want to play in the championship game.
Right. Yeah.
You know? It's just mind-boggling how we don't think about the basic things of fixing up our island so that we can make it more appealing for people to come here.
And that's why, again, so, I mean, I understand that DPR is its own agency and GVB is its own agency, but, I mean, if you're not going to combine the two agencies, then they definitely need to be working really close to each other. And the mayor's council as well. Like, the three of these agencies need to be knowing what everybody is doing at the same time to work for one and for one mission, right? Because I do love GVB's mission about this is where we work, play, and live, right? And again, all of these visitor monies go back into our way of life that helps with public health, public safety, and public education. It all connects. I agree. But again, we need to stop working in silos, and we got to stop saying, well, that's the DPW's responsibility. Maybe you need to share this.
We are one government agency, and we need to work together. The heart can't work unless the kidneys are working as well.
Maybe you need to share the same budget.
Yes, you do. They need. No, you are correct. They need to understand that these things need to work in tandem because of the fact that they all correlate to each other. Public safety, education, and healthcare. These things all work together. As far as even our tourism, you're right. Public works, public safety, GVB, they all interlock with these things, and they all need to work together.
Right. I appreciate this, Jason. I'm up against the clock, but thank you so much for calling in and having this conversation.
Oh, always, man. I'm listening, and, you know, if I can brainstorm more things, I will throw it at you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Take care.
You're welcome.
KGUM-FM in Dededo, Guam. We're going to take this break. On the other side, we're going to reach out to, speaking of the Mayor's Council, the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, Mayor Jesse Allig, after these.
KGUM-FM, Dededo. Powered by Glimpses Media.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. U.S. Central Command says it has completed its latest round of airstrikes on Iran, targeting military surveillance capabilities, communication systems, and air defense sites. Iran has threatened to retaliate, and missile sirens have been sounding in Bahrain, which hosts U.S. troops. Earlier, President Trump said of ceasefire talks,
"We'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers because you know what? They dealt with some very stupid presidents."
At Central Command headquarters in Tampa, Florida, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth added this.
There's another thing that was revealed today by the president that the press has not been aware of, but certainly this building, the U.S. Central Command, has known, is that Project Freedom, the idea of running ships through the Strait of Hormuz, it never stopped. it just went underground. And so there's some things the public knows and some things the public doesn't know. But ultimately, we've been protecting commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, as the president announced, to the tune of over 100 million barrels that have moved through and more in the middle of the night, protected by the United States in a way that Iran can't stop. They can't see it and they can't stop it.
Meanwhile, Lisa Dwyer reports.
In what the Pentagon says was an effort to drastically trim down a list of more than 200 religious affiliations the troops could choose from, the overhaul excluded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from the list of Christian religions. U.S. Senators Mike Lee and John Curtis of Utah, both Republicans and Latter-day Saints, challenged the change in social media posts, saying they are Christian. The Pentagon responded by removing the Christian label from 20 other traditions, including Catholics.
The government's latest gauge shows inflation spiking. The Labor Department reports consumer prices were up 4.2% in May from a year earlier, the highest level in 3 years. This is AP News. Some big Hollywood names will finally be getting Oscars, honorary ones. Jennifer King has details.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has announced their Governor's Awards, honorary Oscars given to artists with legendary careers but no statuette of their own. Actor Glenn Close has had 8 nominations for films including Hillbilly Elegy, The World According to Garp, and Fatal Attraction.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Other recipients include 4-time nominee Ridley Scott, who directed Alien, Blade Runner, and Gladiator. Floyd Norman, the first black animator hired by Walt Disney Animation Studios, got his start on Sleeping Beauty in the 1950s and worked on classics from 101 Dalmatians to Monsters, Inc. Also receiving the Academy's Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, producers Christine Vachon and Pamela Koffler, founding partners of New York-based Killer Films. I'm Jennifer King.
The ceremony's set for November 15th. There's more news at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
KGUM-FM, Dedido, the talk of Guam. This is Wave 105.1 FM, a Glimpses media radio station.
Guam, get ready. On Sunday, June 14th, the Tuma Night Market becomes the stage for something extraordinary. Triple J Mazda invites you to the official unveiling of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. See all 4 models revealed together. Close your eyes and open your senses. Enjoy complimentary Mazda giveaways and product samples while supplies last. One night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Only at the Tuma Night Market, Sunday, June 14th.
My name is Emma. I am 13 years old. 6 years ago, I was injured in a car accident that left me paralyzed from the waist down. Once I completed rehab, my mom applied for a canine companion service dog. Last January, I finally got to meet my service dog, Marcia. We quickly developed a very strong bond. Together, we go to my horseback riding lessons, school band practice, swim meets, and archery classes. Together, we pick vegetables, and we like to cut flowers. I love Marcia. She makes me feel like together we can do anything. I can't imagine life without her. She's a part of the family. We are just one of the thousands of teams Canine Companions has paired together over the past 50 years. With your help, we can continue for another 50. Visit canine.org to see the many ways you can change lives.
I can tell that we are gonna be friends.
Do you hear that? And that? And that? Those are the sounds of a healthy and vibrant community. And to this United Way volunteer, nothing sounds better. They're the sounds of children being given greater chances to succeed in school. The sounds of neighbors receiving the support needed to overcome challenges, both big and small. They're the sounds of families gaining access to quality health care and nutritious food for their tables. And they're the sounds of members of our community who've benefited from United Way's financial education programs. See, wherever there's a need in our communities, there's a United Way. People working together to respond and growing the good for everyone. United is the way. So join us by getting involved or giving back. Learn more at unitedway.org.
Talking about guns with others might not always feel comfortable, but it could save a life. Here's a way to start a conversation. Your family is going over to your neighbor's home for dinner for the first time. How would you ask if there are any unlocked guns in the home?
Hey. Hey, we're so excited for tonight. Before we come over, may I ask a few questions?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog.
Great. Do you have a pool outside?
Nope, just a big old backyard.
Nice. Another question. Are there any unlocked guns in the home?
Our guns are stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's just talk about what we can bring for dessert.
Learn how to have the conversation at agreetoagree.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
My name is Erica. My son, Kason, is a patient at Shriners Children. My oldest called me and said Kason got burned. The trauma doctor came in and said he needs to go to Shriners.
His injury was a big injury, and I think a testament to the care that we provide. He's fully functional. He's riding his dirt bike, doing all of the things that you would want him to do.
We're just so thankful that Kason is still here. Go online right now to loveshriners.org.
Celebrate Father's Day with Power 98 and Wave 105 as we honor our first heroes. To enter, send a WhatsApp message or call in and share your funniest or most heartfelt dad story. Winners will be revealed from June 15th to June 19th, and you can win your dad a special bundle prize. Stay locked in to Power 98 and Wave 105. Brought to you by Guam Plaza Resort, Nana's Cafe, Roots Grill House, AutoWorks, Jollibee, Proline, and Cream and Butter.
Guam is building the future, and the right conversations start here. SAME Guam Post invites you to the 2026 Industry Forum happening July 28 through 30 at the Dusitani Resort. Join military, government, and industry leaders as they come together to discuss Guam's future in infrastructure, resilience, and regional growth. This premier event connects you to Guam's next generation of infrastructure. Registration is open. Visit guamindustryforum.com. The 2026 SAME Industry Forum, delivering Indo-Pacific readiness.
Half a day. This is Luella Lucinio, host of Pinas de Guam. Together with the Filipino community of Guam and Wave 105.1, we proudly celebrate Philippine Independence Month with the theme Kalayaan, Kinabukasan, Kasaysayan, Freedom, Future, History. From Guam to the Philippines, we honor our shared history, celebrate our freedom, and build our future together. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas at Guam!
The Constitution is America's foundational document that every U.S. citizen should know. It establishes rights, responsibilities, and governmental roles. This knowledge isn't just for politicians, but for us as everyday Americans. Citizens need to understand what the Constitution says and what it doesn't say, because it protects our unalienable rights, rights no one can take away or infringe. Without knowledge of our constitutional rights, we will fail to realize when they are violated.
Liberty. It's an American thing. From AmericanThing.org.
The road to Adelup is off and running. This time, we sit down with Republican candidate Speaker Frank Blass and Dr. Mary Okada. Catch the full conversation that took place on May 7th on the Wave 105's YouTube channel. Stay informed and hear their vision for Guam's future. Wave 105 is a glimpses of Guam radio station.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
Feeling good, getting things done. Wave 105 FM.
Just allow my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You
4:15 in the afternoon. This is the BrightSide right here on Wave 105. Sending it back to the host, Mr. Pauly Suba.
We do want to thank our sponsors, Triple J, One Night, One Reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Join Triple J Mazda at the Tumon Night Market Sunday, June 14. Triple J Mazda, designed to move you. Also, GTA, we start with you. Chili's Grill and Bar at Chili's, more life, great food and memories happen here. And Subway, you got to refresh to be fresh. We are reaching out to the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, the mayor of PT, Jesse Allig, and I really wanted to talk to him about their meeting that took place last week, Wednesday, right? This is their June regular meeting, and they usually go to the Mayor's Council Director first, which is Joyjean Arceo. She shared that the council has awarded a contract for a new automated residency management system. And the new system is designed to modernize and standardize how residency verification is handled across the island. Instead of each village managing residency-related requests differently, the new platform will combine everything into one online portal. So when you have to go to get a mayor's verification ID, this is what, or a mayor's verification document, right, saying that yes, you do live in the village of MTM. This is what I'm thinking of, right? And so we'll just get clarity on that. The project is currently in the discovery and data collection phase, and the goal is to improve efficiency and consistency across all villages. And so we have him? No. Oh, no, we don't.
Still trying to call him.
Okay.
No answer, but we do have a caller in line, too.
All right. Off of day, Wave 105. You're on the air.
Pauly, Mr. Guenes, up here in the beautiful of Inalahan.
Half a day, senor.
I'm calling in because I heard from the Department of Agriculture that the check are ready up there in Adelup. So we're just waiting for the Lieutenant Governor for presentation to issue those checks out to the farmers.
Okay.
That will be the first batch, and I would like to thank the Department of Agriculture, the Governor of Guam, the Lieutenant Governor for acting on this one, because it's good news for the farmer that's been waiting for so long.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully it will be a payout tomorrow. I'm praying that it's going to happen tomorrow, or maybe they're going to wait for Father's Day. Please do not wait for Father's Day.
Don't wait for Father's Day.
Do it tomorrow, because we've been waiting for a long time. But, Pauly, I'm going to tell you out loud from my heart that, yes, I am still supporting the Lieutenant Governor and Tina Muñoz Barnes, because this heart do not lie from the beginning. Everybody was calling me to join the other party, but I told them, I'm sorry. When I make a promise, nobody will change me. Even the Lieutenant Governor even say, go ahead and vote Jose Augustine, I will not listen to the Lieutenant Governor. They're going to listen to my heart of my promise of what I told them from the beginning. But anyway, Pauly, to all you farmers, maybe you call the Adelup because the check is there. I know, because I've been following this up. I called DOA, and it's true that they already cut that check. So when I called the deputy director yesterday, I said, Mr. Dueñas, how do I know? I say, I've been following this. I've been pushing it. But I know that the Department of Administration told me since yesterday that it's going to be Adelup, that's the place where we're going to pick up the check.
This is for the crop loss?
Compensation for that farmer from this typhoon.
For Typhoon Sinlaku. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pauly.
All right.
You're still the one.
All right,
I'll never
take care.
forget Governor Gutierrez because my nickname is still the one, and I will continue using that nickname.
Got it.
Adios, Pauly.
Adios.
I love the Lieutenant Governor. I love what I'm seeing, what he's doing. I love the roads that are being fixing, even if it takes a long time. But I'll tell you again, Pauly, no matter who is the governor or they change the governor, the road will be always a problem. And I know that whoever will be the next governor of Guam, they will say a lot of bad things on them. I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat on this governorship. Si tus masi, Pauly, you're still the one.
All right, take care, senor. All right. Yeah, no, it comes with the territory, right? He should be ready. Okay. He knows for you to call him. Okay. Yeah. All right. Again, let's see if we can get the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam on. So I briefly just want to touch on that, but more so understanding that about $10 million is going to could go back to the rainy day fund on the what was set aside for the recovery of Sinlaku preparation for the storm and then recovery of the storm. Is any of that money, any of that $9 million that Lester Carlson was talking about coming from some of the money that the mayors were using? And so that's something that I definitely want to ask as well, because that's something that that they talked about briefly, that their director reminded mayors that villages receiving emergency funding related to Typhoon Sinlaku must submit required expenditure reports to the governor's office. She said several villages have already submitted reports. Some reports are still outstanding. Any remaining reports should be submitted as soon as possible. Invoices tied to storm response expenses also need to be submitted quickly so DOA can process payments. Once all reports are received, the Mayor's Council will compile them into a single comprehensive report. She also reported that overtime payments for employees who worked during the storm response have already been processed and paid. Additionally, third quarter financial reports for both appropriated and non-appropriated funds are due July 15. And so I also want to touch on, because that was definitely something that they were focused on, with especially the southern village mayors, on the possibility of closing some of the schools down south. Definitely the southern mayors were not happy. And so we'll see if any updates have happened. I know that Mayor BJ Tulai is part of the Guam Education Board. However, BJ Tulai, I don't think, is on island yet. So I don't know if they've had the conversation with Superintendent Judy Wampat yet, because according to Mayor BJ, she's just waiting for the invitation to talk with the mayors. He's on now? Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Oh, we got the theme song, right? Intro to the president of the Mayor's Council.
I kind of promised him a song, with the busy schedule and all the people he has to work with.
Okay.
Some that are not.
I love this jam.
Before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you.
We definitely say a little prayer for the mayor. What is Holiday Mayor?
Mayor has no hair, though. He has no hair to comb.
Oh, yeah, but we'll say a little prayer anyway.
Hi, Day. Yeah, it's better to shave it off. What's going on over there?
Mr. President!
Oh, my God.
Off a day. So,
Off a day?
Can you give us an update? You were just off island. Was it to the CNMI?
No.
Oh,
It wasn't CNMI.
Definitely say a little prayer.
I just went, for a little break.
Oh,
for 3
okay.
days.
So then you don't need to share. I thought it was work. I thought it was work related.
No.
It's much deserved break though.
Thanks.
Great job. Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. It was good.
That's good.
Yeah, you're right. I just kind of did need a little break, but I'm back.
All right. So I mean, there was some tension last week. So let's just talk about that real quick.
Ooh, okay.
With the schools, right? You have the Southern Village mayors were not happy. They want answers, right? When it comes to the possibility of closing some of the schools. So has there been any breakthrough in speaking with Judy Wampat, at least maybe scheduling something? Because I know BJ Tulai said that she's just waiting for the invitation.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for a response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You asked. I'm just giving you the answer.
No, thank you for that. I mean, we're just being honest here, right?
Yeah. And I just waiting for a response. That's my answer to that.
Okay.
I think my only concern about it, and it kind of has, for me, I think it's kind of blown up, and I'm a little.
I get it. I understand. We don't need to blow it up even more than it has already.
Correct.
Right? Especially when there's still uncertain of, there's no guarantee that any of the schools will close. You don't even have to finish
your thought.
Right.
We're thinking the same thing.
Understood.
I'm just like, okay, hold on, everybody, because we don't really know what's going on yet. Let's go figure out what's going on, and then we can get all riled up, right?
Okay.
So I don't. I mean, I've had other people question me about it, and my answer, and they think they're shocked by it. But I said, no, it's not that. I support my colleagues. That's for sure. But I can't respond to those questions or to the concern because I don't know what the facts are. I don't know what the situation is.
Okay.
Now, there are different people talking about it, but I'm not hearing it, from the horse. So until I know, I mean, I can't make, an educated decision as to how I would pursue the argument because
No, that's
I don't know. And then also closing the schools. I mean, that's not. If it's gonna, there are different things for me. If it is financially viable, or if it's the most prudent decision, so that we could use the money in a better way to provide better education for the children, and there's a plan, then I definitely consider it. Now, if they're just saying we're closing without having to figure out how we're going to improve education, then I might have an issue. I mean, and it's ironic how we're talking about this because even in my own with my own staff, I mean, I'm thinking about, okay, we're just graduating all these students, and there's so much going on within the school system, but are we really concerned about the child's education when they've graduated from high school? When they graduate from high school this year, is it the same? Is the student prepared the same way they were graduating 30 years ago? And I could venture to say that the answer is no, because most people are not even adults until they're 30 these days. But back in the day, I was a sophomore in high school, and I was doing adult things because I was forced to by my parents. And so it's not the same. And so have we also changed the way we're preparing these students? And I'm proud to say I'm an Islander. I'm a proud Islander, and I'm very happy with the education that I received at JFK. And I'm, but also it was because we made it a point to be a part of that education system, and we made it a point as a family, right, to look for things. But if they're not motivated, then they're not going to get anything, and that's our education climate. Our community has changed, has evolved so much that a lot of what we focus our energy on, I think, is really kind of the wrong thing sometimes. And so I'm happy that, at the mayor's office or at the mayor's level, we've been able to, kind of help out in some of those areas because our students are graduating wanting to work or needing to work as opposed to, attaining higher education. So, I mean, it's just a whole different...
No, I understand. We can move on because there's so many things to talk about, right? Like, what about the Sinlaku? Are we all good? We're not having to return any money? I know Georgine Arceo was talking about there are still some mayors that need to submit their reports. There are still outstanding reports.
So there are outstanding reports. There's definitely there's some money left in each district because they weren't able to spend it by May 10.
Okay.
The problem with it is that we used May 10 as a deadline to spend the money, but the difficulty that we had, and this is not an excuse. I mean, there's definitely a paper trail to show that vendors were not responding because they weren't able to because they had no communication. There was no power at the time for some. Whatever it is, they were also going through their own emergency, and so a lot of the delays were, procurement delays. But I have to say, though, for the most part, the money was used. There's not a large balance within the districts, but certainly there are. I think we all can figure out how we can use the balance. I mean, I think for PD, I probably have a $40,000 balance, which I could use to finish up some of the work. But again, it was all because of the timeline.
Okay.
So, we are looking to see how we could, still use that money for those purposes. But because of that timeline, that May 10th deadline, she stopped certifying after May 10.
All right. Understood.
Yeah.
And then she said in her beginning report that there is a system that they're looking into purchasing, right? For what is it? Village residency verification?
Correct. So one of the things that, and that was when we hired her, that was one of the things that we asked her to look into because since I became president, we had been working, even before I became president, our former president, which is former Mayor Melissa Tavares, had started working on, proposals to centralize everything, to be more efficient at the mayor's office. For various reasons, we could not get it done. We could not start the project, and so we are able to do it now. We set aside some money to do it, and we were getting there. I did view a draft of what it would look like, and I think it's going to be important that we complete it because it'll just make it easier for everybody. I mean, if you live in Dededo and you're transferring to PT, then we shouldn't have to drive from Dededo to PD or PD to Dededo for anything. Really, we should do it electronically, and it can be done in minutes. And then also, if you need a verification, you don't need to come to us. We can certainly get it done quicker by email and send it to the agency that is requesting it by email, so that everything is secured. There's encryption. All of that is incorporated into the project. So we're looking at trying to get to be more efficient.
Yeah. What does that look like for the resident? They go online.
It will look. Yeah, you go online. A telephone call.
Okay.
Would work. We really want to make this as easy as possible because nobody. I don't think anybody wants to go and drive to any government agency to request for a document that we can do electronically.
Oh, nice. So it would get emailed back.
And then it can get emailed back.
Nice.
What's going to happen is we're going to be able to email it to the agency.
Oh, even
so
better.
So you don't have to come pick it up and then go deliver it to the agency. You just make the request, and our office gets it to the agency that's, the requesting agency. Oh. The issue that we had was, encryption and security. So that's part of this project is making sure that whatever we send, we can have, there's an electronic signature, and we can send it with no issues.
We are on our way. Next stop, we just need to fix procurement.
Yeah.
We're on our way. We are on our way, Mayor.
That's a big deal.
That's
but
encryption right
and the
there.
thing is, and that's, I'm sure if I haven't mentioned it to you, then it was maybe when Mayor Suarez was on, or Patty. But it's so funny because, it's election year, right? So everyone's like, oh, Mayor, we're going to give you money. When we get into, we're going to do this. And I'm just like, no. It's not always about the money. I mean, all I can say is we returned $1.5 million to EPA. If it was about the money, why the heck did we return $1.5 million to EPA? It's not about the money. It's about the process and the bureaucracy that we have to go through that kind of ties our hands. And I'm always the one saying, and I'm sure there are many others out there, but hey, I'm not trying to usurp the system and not be transparent and not be accountable. I want it all, but there has to be a way to do it where there's fair competition, there's transparency, there's accountability, and but the service is rendered immediately.
Well, that's what is demanded in government. I mean, that's the standard.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, all you policymakers, all you wannabe policymakers, gosh, figure this out, because guess what? This is our problem. I'm not saying money is never an issue, but I'm saying there's another, and it's not just the Mayor's Council of Guam. It's everybody else who has to go through this procurement problem. It just needs to be updated. And granted, there are people that don't want to even touch it, right, for whatever reason. But, if you're really talking about service to the people, then, you need to ask the right questions and address the need, the real need.
Well, one of the issues that we've been, you already know how difficult it has been to address abandoned vehicles. DPW was at the last meeting, right? And so there's a plan in place, right? How much do you know, and how much has DPW shared with this new program, abandoned vehicle program, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the mayors? However, you will always have a partnership with DPW.
Right. We don't know too much about the program. I know that it was mentioned to us. It was mentioned to us that they're moving on with it, and it's going to happen. I can't speak about the program. I do have to say that I have spoken to the finance chair, and I've made some type of, dropped some kind of word to EPA that the Mayor's Council is not wanting to be a part of the environmental cleanup program. It's that see, my phone just rang.
Maybe it's DPW.
Could be. But it's more that, we have to come up with a program that works for the Mayor's Council, that we could actually execute, because there's no sense in. And then if we're going to work in tandem with DPW, I am all on board with that, because we can't handle it all. But if we can collaborate, then I'd be very happy to begin that discussion. So
because whether you might not be directly involved in the program, you would be the first. The mayors would be the first to see an abandoned vehicle. So then you would be the ones to make the call to DPW for them to pick it up. But I've been told that the plan is that they are looking at properties all throughout the island for staging areas to place these abandoned vehicles. So if that's the case, they would be in maybe your village. One might be in your village.
We've been talking about that for years now, and I've been a part of a task force too, actually, that have been looking at that, and we've talked about government property all around Guam. There's the two sites, was one here in PD for sure, and one in Jigo. And but we're still talking about it, and I'm not privy to the reasons as to why they cannot be used. But for a good 3 years now, we've been talking about this property issue, and I know that in Jigo, the property that was considered considered was, I can't be for sure about it, but I know that it was shared, or it would be shared with another government entity, and they just needed, clarification from that other government entity that would, either whatever it is, there was some things that they needed to work out. And then, of course, considering a lot here in PD that was closer to the port would make sense as well, so that it would get shipped out immediately. I don't have any objections to that either. I mean, do I want to dump in PD? No. But I think if we can regulate it and we can ensure that what it would do is provide the means for us to get rid of these things, then by all means, I want to be a partner in it. But I don't know what.
Clearly, they need to define it as a staging area and not a junkyard.
Correct. Oh, yeah, for sure. We've talked about that too, right? So, and then monitoring. I mean, EPA does a good job at monitoring. I mean, Mitch and Glenn, those two, they've worked well together, I think, and I feel like if it was an issue with monitoring, I think they, get a handle on it. They would have a handle on it. So I'm not too sure. I'm not the authority in that. I just do know that we have had many discussions about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's fair enough. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on is the senior citizens program discussions, because that was something that you brought up towards the end of your meeting, right? And so
So the idea is this is a sticky one, and the idea is that the mayor's council would take over the entire program.
Okay.
And that is, this discussion is not happening because it's my decision. The discussion is happening because the majority of the mayors have asked if there was any possible way to take over the entire program with all of the funding. And so I know we have had this discussion, but if the majority of my colleagues wish to do that, then I think the best thing to do, the most prudent thing to do, is to get all the facts, figure out what it is that this program truly entails, because there's transportation, there's meals, there's just everything. There's facilities and infrastructure that need to be considered, and there's also programming. So
the worry is that maybe public health would regulate you, though, then.
For sure, they would regulate us because of the type of
Well, I don't know if that's the worry, but yeah, they would have to regulate you because they're the facilitators of the program, right? In essence,
they
from the federal
still
government.
do now.
From the federal government, right? Because there's federal funds involved.
There's some federal funds, and then there's some local funds. So it's commingled.
Okay.
I don't know if commingled is the word, but it's shared.
Sure.
And then, but there is the public health regulation that all the centers follow, which, of course, would transfer if it was taken over. So what it is now is we're a vendor. The mayor's council is a vendor to public health.
Okay.
And the discussion is that
you get paid by public health.
Correct.
To operate these programs, right? But
correct.
If you were to have a bigger role, what does that?
That means we would be in charge of all the transportation. We would be in charge of all the entire meal program. We would be in charge of any kind of repair, improvement to facilities. So
you would have
those three things.
You'd ask for a bigger budget and hire drivers, right? And maybe cooks, or you'd probably subcontract the catering.
Correct.
Okay.
Because as it is now, I believe the transportation contract is probably about $1 million. And then the meal, I can't even give a figure on the meals program, but they're all very high. And so, the truth is that some of the mayors feel like they can run a transportation program with less than that.
The reality is probably they're doing a lot of it already, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I
correct. And so they're saying, well, if we want to look at saving money, and that's for me too, right? That's what I want to see. So let's put it all out. Let's see all the figures, and let's go do, run some scenarios and figure out this business plan that we're going to, how we're going to succeed. Because just saying that, we can do it now without having to spend $1 million or whatever, is, that's just not, I just want to see it. And so that's a discussion that we're wanting to have, or at least the majority of the mayors want to have.
Because I could see it on the other way. What if you don't have enough staff? You're going to be spread thin.
Correct. And so right now we actually hire all the recreation leaders for all the centers, and we have program coordinators in our senior center office.
Okay.
Our admin office, right? So we actually hire majority of the employees under that program anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
Would you need more? Would you need more?
Well, we wouldn't need more if they were contracted. Now, if they were not contracted, like let's say the transportation, if the transportation wasn't contracted, then we potentially would need drivers. Because we don't actually have drivers. We just have recreational leaders.
If you do the contracts, who would be maintaining the contracts? Central office or the mayors themselves?
Central office.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the mayors. It wouldn't be the 19 mayors.
Okay.
The other consideration is that if we took over this program, that all the 19 villages would participate in one way or another.
Sure.
Right? So and then that's where I said, "Oh, okay, ding, 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 I'm coming." So I don't have a center, I don't have a building, a facility in PD, but I have Manamco.
Yes.
So can I have a program? Can I execute a program in the village? Because we typically do anyway.
Right.
And so without having to have bingo and whatever else it is, let me have the same amount of funding so that the Manamco here who want to do other things, we will do the same, we'll still be able to service them. So that's kind of where I felt, okay, I'll talk. I'll have the discussion.
So where are we in this timeline? Probably we still have to have the conversation with public health, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Public health doesn't even know we're talking about it.
Okay.
Unless they probably don't.
Right.
And because we've never made it known to them.
Right.
But before we go there, I want to make sure that if in fact the mayors want to do it, they know what we're getting ourselves into before, So we'll certainly have work sessions, but then that discussion, that final decision will not be made until a regular meeting is called or an actual mayor's council meeting.
Okay, understood. Yeah. And so are you also prepared for your budget, for the budget season?
Yeah, we're prepared. We submitted kind of a status quo budget.
Okay, yes.
We're hearing that that's kind of what the senators are wanting at least, or at least finance. And so we're okay with the status quo as long as it is status quo.
Right.
We're very fortunate to have a good budget this year.
I remember day one, you were all in there with your team.
Yeah.
Day one, and that's what is it? Day one is somewhere in July, right? First week of July.
No, was that in July or August? I think it was August.
It's going to be July this time around, though. They want to get it. They want to get it done.
By
mid-July because obviously liberation and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. So I think it was clear that as long as it's status quo, if as long as they're not going to decrease it, then we'll be okay.
Well, all you got to do is just hang out right in front of the Guam Congress building, and I'm pretty sure you'll stress them out.
It's election year, so ask for everything.
They'll be like, not again.
Ask for everything and the kitchen sink.
Not again, right?
It's Christmas.
It's
Christmas in July.
You guys got some power. You got some power. You might as well use some of it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it worked, right? We cannot use that same strategy each time.
Maybe you can. Don't forget about last year, senators.
Yeah. Oh, it's an election year?
Yeah. And again, it's going to be Christmas in July, Mayor. I'm telling you, ask for everything. Ask for everything.
Before I let you go, thank you so much for putting together such a successful festival. I really enjoyed myself.
Awesome job down there.
Itasi.
Yeah, Enrique Sanitasi. Thank you too. It was our first time. There's definitely a lot of learning opportunities. Sure. I think we're excited to start planning the next one.
Yes.
Our partners, I think, from the other agencies, they had a lot of good comments about how we could certainly strengthen what we started.
Sure.
What we're very happy about is the discovery tours, right? Those were just those were a hit, and we even had visitors, some tourists actually that actually signed up. We created a new session or 2 new sessions because of the tourists as well. So
also Santos Park was the perfect location. That place is beautiful.
You think?
Yes. It was great.
Yeah, it was. I had a good time. Like I said, it was. I was comfortable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know that people do utilize Santos Park regularly, but it was the first time I actually spent practically a whole day there. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, it was hot. Don't get me wrong, but it is a beautiful spot. Is that somewhere? Do they go to you or do they go to DPR to request to?
They come to us. They come to us. Okay. That belongs to us.
Do you need to be a resident of PT to utilize the pavilion?
No,
okay.
No. Anybody can use. You just need to give us a call, and if it's available, then we'll let you know. No, it's open to everybody.
It is a beautiful backdrop, sunset. I can see many weddings happening there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot going on like that. So the park has always been very, well utilized, and so we really tried to keep it as maintained as possible. The infrastructure there, I mean, slowly but surely we were able to upgrade the bathrooms, and then of course now it's like, and it's near the ocean, right? So you just kind of have to realize that those things are gonna get used and dated very quickly, especially if the ocean water comes in. Sure. And Sinlaku did a number on us, which was good though in a way because it helped us clear some vegetation, but the erosion part that was difficult. So hopefully we get to qualify for some of the CDBG DR grants that are coming out for mitigation. Looking forward to that.
And you're usually setting it for April, right? The only reason why it was in late May was because of Sinlaku, right?
That's correct. So I think we have like 9, 10, and 11 in April 2027, something like that.
Right. All right. So, Mayor, I appreciate the time. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to share with our audience?
No, Liberation, my goodness. I know that the Liberation Queen contest is still going on. Yes. The final counting is June 19.
Yes.
If you know of a Liberation candidate, support the candidate. This year is, it's kind of the same as last year where it's 50-50.
Right.
Some of the 50% of the qualification is to raise money. The other 50% is more about who you are and what you bring to the table. So be on the lookout for that.
I was trying to reach out to Mayor BJ, but he's also off island because I wanted to talk to him about that. But we'll get in touch with him.
He'll be back.
Very soon.
He'll be back for sure. And then there's the addition to the activities is there is a July 20th Liberation Mass.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to be in trouble saying it, but the papal nuncio will be visiting, and so he will actually be presiding at that mass on July 20th at 6 p.m. So it'll be a liberation. We typically have the Liberation Mass the weekend before, but because of his arrival, we're going to do it Monday the 20th, 6 p.m. at the cathedral.
That's good. See that? We were just talking about that the Catholic Church should never be separated from liberation. Never.
Oh, for sure. Right. I mean, it just can't. Right. It's just like trying to separate the fiesta.
Right.
I mean, you just can't because we're celebrating a saint.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't tell me that it's not tomorrow.
Right. Mayor, appreciate it always. Thank you so much.
You too. Thanks, guys. Okay. You take care. Have a good rest of your day.
All right.
Be safe.
Josh.
Adios.
There you go, Mayor of PT Jesse Alec. He's voted most popular, most favorite mayor, like 9 years in a row straight. Like
no
one's ever beat him.
My only connection to PD is my mom. That's where she's from.
Nice.
He's my mayor. They should have a mayor for Guam,
right?
For all of the villages.
Well, he is because he's the president.
Well, yeah.
He bosses them all around. Okay. Don't tell the other mayors they said that. They're not listening.
Well, hell to the chief.
4:54 in the afternoon. We'll take the break.
Yes.
Wave 105. Or actually, let's just pivot right now.
Yes,
right?
We'll go to traffic right about now. Because we're checking in the roads of Guam to let you know where to go and where not to go on your daily commute. Helping you move forward along with AutoSpot. Standing by, Pauly Suba.
All right, let's break out my handy-dandy glimpses of Guam traffic app here. See where we are. When I was filling in this morning, that traffic going into Anderson Air Force Base is insane.
Oh,
even into 9 a.m. I'm like, when does the Air Force get to work? Why is it heavily congested?
I would hate to work on days.
After 8 a.m.
They don't open at that gate?
I don't know.
They should. If it's going to be taking that
I
long.
was tripping out. It's because it's been a while since I've done the morning show. And we were looking at traffic around 8:45. And the line was still long to get into Anderson.
Wow.
So I'm looking at Route 1 right now, and it is heavily congested around Micronesia Mall, passing Guam Regional Medical City, and right about the Dededo Flea Market and Fatima Road, you'll see some congestion. It does build up even more all the way up to about EPAL Road. That EPAL Road intersection, that's Route 28. Until after that is when it finally opens up for you. So there you go. Did you know on the right-hand side, that's also Camp Blas? On the right-hand side, Micronesia Mall, after Isangsong, you could see the federal gate, the fence line. I was wondering what that was. It belongs to Marine Corps Base Camp Blas. It's a training annex.
Wow.
And it is closed to the public. Yeah. It is a huge piece of property. It's considered a training annex grounds. Once again, helping you move forward on this Hotbus Thursday. Webus, it's so hot today. Schedule that test drive today at Guam AutoSpot. Call them up, 478-AUTO. View their inventory on their website at guamautospot.com. Here's that number again, 478-AUTO.
Eat fresh in just a few clicks. Order online at SubwayPacific.com for pickup or delivery. Online ordering at SubwayPacific.com is powered by Good to Go. We deliver. At Subway, you gotta refresh to be fresh.
Hungry and need gas? Mobile's got you covered. Now through July 31st, Mobile Smiles app members can enjoy a free 6-inch Subway sandwich with every minimum fill-up of $30 gas at any Guam mobile station. Available exclusively on the mobile app. It's an easy summer win. Fuel up, open the app, and enjoy the rewards. Not a member yet? Pick up a Mobile Smiles card at any mobile location and register today. Mobile and Subway, a great deal for the summer. See store for details.
Guam, get ready. On Sunday, June 14th, the Tuma Night Market becomes the stage for something extraordinary. Triple J Mazda invites you to the official unveiling of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. See all 4 models revealed together. Close your eyes and open your senses. Enjoy complimentary Mazda giveaways and product samples while supplies last. One night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Only at the Tuma Night Market, Sunday, June 14th.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
The road to Adaloop continues. This time, we sit down with Republican candidates. Vice Speaker Tony Atta and E.J. Calvo. Catch the full conversation that took place on May 5th on the Wave 105's YouTube channel. Stay informed and hear their vision for Guam's future. Wave 105 is a glimpse of Guam radio station.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. U.S. Central Command says it has completed its latest round of airstrikes on Iran, targeting military surveillance capabilities, communication systems, and air defense sites. Iran has threatened to retaliate, and missile sirens have been sounding in Bahrain, which hosts U.S. troops. Earlier, President Trump said of ceasefire talks,
"We'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers because you know what? They dealt with some very stupid presidents."
At Central Command headquarters in Tampa, Florida, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth added this.
There's another thing that was revealed today by the president that the press has not been aware of, but certainly this building, the U.S. Central Command, has known, is that Project Freedom, the idea of running ships through the Strait of Hormuz, it never stopped. It just went underground. And so there's some things the public knows and some things the public doesn't know. But ultimately, we've been protecting commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, as the president announced, to the tune of over 100 million barrels that have moved through and more in the middle of the night, protected by the United States in a way that Iran can't stop. They can't see it and they can't stop it.
Meanwhile, Lisa Dwyer reports.
In what the Pentagon says was an effort to drastically trim down a list of more than 200 religious affiliations the troops could choose from, the overhaul excluded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from the list of Christian religions. U.S. Senators Mike Lee and John Curtis of Utah, both Republicans and Latter-day Saints, challenged the change in social media posts, saying they are Christian. The Pentagon responded by removing the Christian label from 20 other traditions, including Catholics.
The government's latest gauge shows inflation spiking. The Labor Department reports consumer prices were up 4.2% in May from a year earlier, the highest level in 3 years. This is AP News. Some big Hollywood names will finally be getting Oscars, honorary ones. Jennifer King has details.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has announced their Governor's Awards, honorary Oscars given to artists with legendary careers but no statuette of their own. Actor Glenn Close has had 8 nominations for films including Hillbilly Elegy, The World According to Garp, and Fatal Attraction.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Other recipients include 4-time nominee Ridley Scott, who directed Alien, Blade Runner, and Gladiator. Floyd Norman, the first black animator hired by Walt Disney Animation Studios, got his start on Sleeping Beauty in the 1950s and worked on classics from 101 Dalmatians to Monsters, Inc. Also receiving the Academy's Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, producers Christine Vachon and Pamela Koffler, founding partners of New York-based Killer Films. I'm Jennifer King.
The ceremony's set for November 15th. There's more news at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
KGUM-FM, Dedido, the talk of Guam. This is Wave 105.1 FM, a Glimpses media radio station.
Half a day. This is Luella Lucinio, host of Pinas de Guam. Together with the Filipino community of Guam and Wave 105.1, we proudly celebrate Philippine Independence Month with the theme Kalayaan, Kinabukasan, Kasaysayan, Freedom, Future, History. From Guam to the Philippines, we honor our shared history, celebrate our freedom, and build our future together. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas at Guam!
Got friends who still haven't switched to GTA? Now's the time to give them a nudge, because you can get up to $150 just for sending them our way. Refer a friend who signs up for a single service like wireless or internet, and you'll score $100. And if they go for a choice bundle, that's a cool $150 in your pocket. It's simple, it's sweet, and it pays to share. Visit gta.net to start referring today. GTA, we start with you. Terms and conditions apply. Visit gta.net for more information.
You have some dough. It's lunchtime, but there's no way you would eat just dough for lunch, right? Well, the good thing is, I have some cheese. Your friend has some tomato sauce. This random guy on the street has pepperoni in his backpack. If we bring all these ingredients together, we end up with something much better than any of them alone. A savory pizza for lunch. But each of us has not only different ingredients, but also different opinions coming from our different life experiences. If we bring all these experiences and all these opinions together in friendly, civil conversation, we end up with opinions and ideas that are better than any of our individual opinions before. So if we want to come up with better ideas for a better world,
what we really need are civil, civic conversations. Pizzas. It's an American thing. AmericanThing.org.
The road to Adelup is here, and this time we spoke with Democrat candidates, Senator Toriz Terlahi and Senator Sabina Perez. Here is your opportunity to hear how they plan to govern Guam. Watch the conversation on Wave 105's YouTube channel, dated May 28th. This is a Glimpses of Guam radio station.
In the afternoon. Once again, we are KGUM FM Dedido Guam. This is Wave 105. And you got it locked on to the bright side with this gentleman right here, Mr. Pauly Suba. Buenas.
We do want to thank our sponsors, GTA. We start with you. Chili's Grill and Bar. Chili's, more life, great food, and memories happen here. Subway, you got to refresh to be fresh. And Triple J, one night, one reveal, one all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5. Join Triple J Mazda at the Tumon Night Market this Sunday, June 14. Triple J Mazda, designed to move you. Let's see if we can move you with another good news for a change, right? And so, again, good news for a change here in the 5 o'clock hour on the bright side is always brought to you by Provisions Wine and Cheese. Again, they serve fresh salads, delicious sandwiches, and authentic Roman-style pizza. Provisions is open Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call Provisions at 671-633-9463. Place your order today or visit the website at provisionsguam.com. And so good news is a very inspiring story.
Okay.
Of this basketball team that hasn't been to the championship since the 70s. I mean, no, the 90s.
Yeah.
But then they lost to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, the finger roll.
Right? And guess who played on that game, in that game? A guy by the last name of Brunson.
Okay.
And he only played about 2 minutes. And then fast forward, because his son ends up winning like NCAA championships. However, the rest of the NBA doesn't believe in him. They don't believe in this guy. So much so that he doesn't get drafted until the second round? And he's two-time NCAA champion, National Player of the Year in 2018, first team All-American, and all of that, NBA scouts still doubt him because they're concerned about his size. 6'2" is tall. That's a lot taller than me, but 6'2" is short in NBA standards, right? They're also concerned about his athleticism and his explosiveness. And they didn't think he was a very good defender. However, he did everything right, and still they don't believe in him. He ends up getting 33rd overall in the second round. That means 32 other players were picked before him.
Yeah.
Right?
They looked at him like, you're such a loser.
Yeah. When they asked him about what scouts missed, he said everything. Right? He felt undervalued. This is his story. He ends up with the Dallas Mavericks. He started as the sidekick to Luka Doncic.
Okay.
He was his sidekick. However, Dallas said, we have an opportunity to get Kyrie Irving.
Oh, man.
So they say goodbye to Jalen Brunson, and it gets picked up by that forgotten franchise, the New York Knicks.
Mm.
And Jalen Brunson now is a Knick, just like his daddy.
Wow.
Yes, just like his daddy. And so, again, he was even criticized when he signed with the Knicks. Many people said that he was overpaid. And so, this is, again, one of the biggest markets in the world, right? I mean, you would argue, what's a bigger sports market than New York City? Maybe L.A.?
Madison Square Gardens.
But, Madison Square Garden. That's like everybody loves to play in MSG, right? Everyone. And that's why the Knicks always lose, because all the stars want to shine when they go there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, home field advantage is not really home field advantage or home court advantage when you're MSG, because everybody wants to elevate their game. So all of the visiting teams, all of the stars just elevate their game when they go play there.
I think even Michael Jordan.
Yes, some of his best games were there.
As a matter of fact, I think his last game when he played, or his last game to play the New York Knicks at Madison Square Gardens, he used Jordan 1.
And the only reason why I bring this up today for good news is you cannot deny what he and his teammates did today. I'm not a New York Knicks fan, not even close. But they just broke the record from being down 29 points in an NBA Finals game.
I got my Timberwolves out.
29 points.
Today I'm using
a
hoodie.
It was practically over. I mean, like, let's be honest, people. No one was watching anymore.
Yeah.
And they turned it around in the third quarter. They win by 1 point. Jalen Brunson shoots over Wemby, who is the best player on the court.
Yeah.
That's undeniable. Victor Wembanyama is the best player on the court. He is the best player playing right now in the NBA Finals, not Jalen Brunson, right? Jalen Brunson throws it over this 7-foot dude. And so when his hands are up, he's like, that's 12 feet.
Pretty much,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe even 20 if he jumps. So it went over, it misses, and here comes his teammate, OG Anunoby, out of nowhere. Tips it in, and there's only like 1.2 seconds left in this game. That you can't even make this story up.
I gotta watch this game when I get home.
You can't even make this up. It was a storybook ending, and it's not over yet. They're up 3-1, but the thing about the Spurs too, because I'm not gonna throw shade on the Spurs. These guys are fun to watch also. It has been the most fun I've watched in a long time. And if you're saying there's no more competition in the NBA, you're wrong. This was fun to watch. I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not a Knicks fan. But I have been enjoying these last 3 games.
I became a Knicks fan. Like I said, I got my hoodie out.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I broke out my Timberlands.
Yeah. There you go.
Even my Lingo son.
They're probably going to tear down the Statue of Liberty and return it back to France.
Exactly.
And build another statue, and it will be Jalen Brunson.
Nice.
That's how much they love this man.
Yeah.
New York City loves this man.
Well, I have a lot to say about the Statue of Liberty. I mean,
okay.
You know, they say it's like, you know, it represents Satan, the chains.
Really?
And yeah, you
I
gotta
did not
look
know.
at it. Yeah.
It represents liberty.
Well, you know, you got to look at the crown and everything.
It's a symbol of people coming for the very first time into America, and they had to go to Ellis Island first.
Oh yeah, all of that good stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, there is a backstory to it.
Well, then, if there is a backstory, then tear it down and erect Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, actually in the shot,
right?
In the motion, right?
Yes. You can't take this away from him and his team and the city of New York City. So there you go. Good news for a change right here on Wave 105. The bad news? New York City is on fire. thing. It's like if they win a championship, New York City's on fire.
Well,
if they lose the championship, they're still it's definitely on
they
fire.
have a representative named AOC, so it's been on fire for the longest time, and their mayor. Sorry, it's a conservative than me.
Well, they have no more deficit.
Yeah. Well, did you know that at one point in time, Google wanted to invest in New York? And you're talking about...
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
It was so bad
I
that
remember.
AOC said no. But they
left.
Yeah, they left. Google would have hired 25,000 people.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow. And so I spoke to a lot of my friends that were in New York, like, bad deal, really bad, because it could have been a new tax base for New York. But thanks to AOC, I mean, she's cute. And I think that's where my liking stops for her.
Congratulations to Jalen Brunson and
Yes.
his daddy.
Yes.
He's a proud daddy.
Mhm.
Because he's also a coach, too.
The dad.
Yeah, it's like reverse Nepo baby.
Oh,
He's a Nepo daddy.
Oh, even what's his name from the Warriors, right? Thompson?
Klay Thompson's dad is also a coach?
Yeah, well, he was a Laker.
No, I know all of that.
yeah,
Of course, yes, there are all. But his daddy, Jalen Brunson's daddy, is a coach on the New York Knicks. I would argue that that's probably not
And then what's his name?
gonna be.
What's his name?
They're like, okay, we'll take your daddy.
Yeah.
They're kind of like LeBron. Like, all right, everybody's lying to LeBron and saying that Bronny James is a good basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is good. He would crush me easily, but the NBA standards, I don't know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he just got in through his daddy's name. Yeah. Bronny.
I can't argue there.
Oh, well. Yeah. I guess nepotism even runs for wild in the NBA.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? Oh, let's go back to the special economic economy meeting, right?
Yeah.
So the special economic,
what do they call it?
It's
SES?
Yeah. So basically, I remember them doing this year. It wasn't last year. This year's not as dramatic. There's, they were very cordial. They're very, agree to disagree. And so that's kind of where I want to go now, is to a part where Lester Carlson and Edward Byrne. Lester Carlson, again, is the BBMR director, and Edward Byrne is the director of DOA. And they talk about what is happening when agencies come before the body during budget requests. And maybe they need to adjust because it isn't really effective. Well, basically, agencies will say, can we get some of that excess revenue? Can we hold on to that because we haven't been able to spend it? And then at the very last minute, or as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, they're trying to spend as much money within their budget, and it doesn't always work out, right? And so even Director Ed Byrne would say, well, there isn't excess money. We've already appropriated some of this money to other agencies, or other, not even agencies, within the same agency, but for another project. And so you think you have $4 million for maintenance at DOC when you really don't. And so they touch on it at this point in the meeting. Again, this is about 2 hours into the meeting at the Special Economic Services meeting.
Plan to settle GPD's prior year obligations that's totaling $989,859.57, as well as GFD's $12,000 in prior year obligations for communication maintenance services as of the current fiscal year.
Maybe we need to reorder the certified budget document when it comes down here, because I think if I recall correctly, the prior year obligations is the very last page. So maybe we need to put that up in the front, because when the agencies come before the body, it's just human nature. You're talking about operational requirements for the upcoming fiscal year. And we need to not lose sight of the prior year obligations. This would be a good time, Senator Gumatauto, to take a look at, especially since the money is available, on legislative action that would provide the funding. Because when the funding was provided in the case of the police department, it was for the operations of FY26. And it was kind of like you could pay your prior year obligations if you have the money. And most people take a look at that as like a last resort kind of thing, and they don't necessarily address it because there are just numerous expenditures that come up. Some of them are unanticipated, and they call for the release of reserves, so that's covered. But if there was a recognition of a growing and unaddressed prior year obligation, maybe it's time, because these are private sector individuals who provide services, and their only recourse is to go file at government claims, and we only fund that to a nominal degree. So there's really no relief unless it's budgetary and recognized and provided to the agency.
Okay, thank you.
Could I add to that, please, Mr. Chairman? We at DOA encourage agencies to book their prior year obligations. Nothing is more difficult for us, especially for cash planning, if obligations suddenly appear and we have to pay them. So if agencies follow the rule and book them properly in the year they were incurred, they will form part of their budgetary appropriation for that year. And you won't have to deal with a rollover of an expenditure, that basically we have to find the cash for. DOC knew about those medical bills. We encourage them. In fact, one of the reasons why they're running through.
Forgot about that part. Go ahead. That's just the mic that messes up.
Book, and then we were able to pay them as they book them. We certainly don't want any agency not to report an obligation to the financial system. It does no one any good.
No, I appreciate that, Mr. Byrne, and also Lester, because I know that in the pre-budget meetings, it seems like we're having to, it's like a changing of culture, right? I mean, if we already know that by the end of the fiscal year, they're kind of scrambling, maybe they should prepare at the end of the fiscal year to begin the fiscal year ready to go, and just as we've been trying to encourage them just to get everything done, as opposed to maybe their old practice of waiting to the very end. Mr. Chair, I only have one more question on this, if I could. And I know that you mentioned at the very beginning, Lester, you won't be able to be at the next Friday's meeting. So if you'll allow me, if I could ask this question, the 2026 CRER April showed that there was $21.6 million available from the $25 million appropriation authorized through Public Law 38-124 for Typhoon Senlaku. If you can, again, on the rainy day fund, what portion of the $223,877 in expenditures and $3 million worth of encumbrances is from the general fund? And I know that you mentioned that we are going to be returning some portion back. Can you just, for the record, again, can you just explain that? Because I know you won't be here next week, and I know because you guys are on other government business off island. So if you could, can you explain that today?
Sure, sir. There's three funding sources, the 200...
We can just stop there, because I totally forgot that microphone messes things up. But
okay,
anyways,
yeah.
I think we're over the time anyways.
Yeah, for the record, that's not our mic.
Okay. Anyways,
So
there's
again,
three funding sources,
about the
correct me if
government's
I'm
appropriation
wrong,
reserves, right? He
250,000
explains
from
the
the
reserves are
governor's,
not meant to block agencies from spending. This is Lester Carlson. Instead, reserves are used as a safety tool. If an agency has an unexpected need, such as a broken air conditioning system, overtime, or emergency repairs, BBMR can release reserve funds. BBMR says that agencies that need reserves released are generally not denied. And then they started talking about prior year obligations, right? Bills from past years that still need to be paid. You heard Edward Burns say that DOC had more than $7 million in prior year medical bills, while GPD and GFD also had smaller unpaid obligations. And so DOA says agencies need to properly record these bills in the year they are incurred. If agencies fail to record them, the government later has to scramble to find cash to pay them. That messes up the whole budget for the whole government. And then you just heard them talking about the rainy day fund, responding to Senator Shango Matautau. Rainy day fund and money set aside for Typhoon Senlaku's response. Carlson said the Senlaku funding came from three sources: $250,000 executive order, leftover SNAP-related funds, and the rainy day fund. BBMR said nearly $10 million that had been reserved may likely not be used and could be returned to the rainy day fund because recovery activity has mostly ended. So that takes us towards almost to the end of the meeting. This is when Senator Taitagui starts asking questions. She wanted clarification on the economic outlook because she sees it as a negative. However, there are some reports that she's looking at, a May one, that says they're in the negative. However, the April outlook says they're in a positive. So you get some clarification from Lester Carlson, who says, actually, we're doing very well. But I want you to hear that.
Tax of about $16,276,000 difference from 2 years, from now until last year, right? So what are we attributing to that negative amount that we are today of 16 million? And we're not talking about the property tax. We're just strictly going into the gross receipts tax. So if you look at what was accumulated in May of this year of 253,793,431 versus last year in 2025, you're looking at we are less than 16,276,130 less. And what is that, like the anticipated downfall of the economic outlook we're expecting for FY27?
Yeah, just you might want to look at the April CRER because my question on that as well is predicated on the fact that actually BPT is tracking up 10.2 million.
Yeah, I'm looking at the May that was just given to us, the ending of May. Okay. And then I compared it to the ending of May in FY25, and I'm showing a negative 16 million this year. And I was just wondering what that trail, is that something that the economic outlook is starting to see a downfall? Yeah, last year. 25.
Cumulatively, we're still up, but if you're asking why the amount went down, the BPT did go from 5 last year to 4.5.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it was anticipated that because of the BPT, going down, is that what's anticipating another loss of another 16 million if we were to move into next year and lowering it another 0.5%? Are we looking at $16 million loss?
You're looking at more like 40 something.
40 million?
Yes.
But we'll get into that in a moment because our analysis doesn't show that.
That's
actually
not
our analysis
reflective.
shows 24 million over this, but I'll get into that in a minute.
So that's not reflective of the economic outlook then that we are anticipating for the government of Guam or our economy. Those numbers are just reflecting on that change of the 4%. I mean, going down to 4%.
I think the bottom line, Senator, is that the adopted level is being exceeded. So regardless of, and you can't necessarily compare.
But that's
last
just
year.
being conservative, but I'm just talking about our outlook.
Our outlook is very bright.
Good. Okay.
Very bright.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
Okay. So it is just based on those numbers from the BPT lowering. Okay, just wanted to make sure that we're looking in that direction. Section 30 funding, when you talked about Section 30 money and how it's going to be increased from, I think it was
you can
80.
hear Lester Carlson saying our outlook looks bright. However, it looks bright with with maintaining the 4.5. That's why I don't think it's necessarily fair to keep saying that we're going in the 4.5 direction. I mean, you've got people like Senator Chris Duenas, who oversees the finances, clearly stating they're going to 4. You've got the majority of the senators that are Republican that are looking in that direction as well, right? The majority is looking at that. These are the same senators that have already passed a budget bill that said we'll go from 4.5 to 4. So continue to look at 4.5 and think that this is how we're going to move forward for fiscal year 2027 is I would caution it, because I just don't think that is you should already be, as a government, you should already be contemplating. You should already be putting out the numbers that say, well, this is what this looks like at 4%. And so when you look at some of those numbers, I mean, I thank Lester Carlson for holding his ground and saying, well, your cost could, the cost could go to $40 million, right? So when you're talking about that whole conversation with Senator Tello Taitagui about property tax deadlines, or BBMR confirmed that the extended deadline remains December 2026. She also asked about the BPT collections, and that collections may look lower compared to last year because the rate was reduced from 5 to 4.5. And so BBMR says the overall economic outlook is still strong, and that the numbers do not necessarily show an economic downturn. They mainly reflect the lower BPT rate. So if you lower it down to 4, he's saying, well, now it looks like that could cost about $40 million. However, you hear Senator Chris Duenas saying that looks more like $24 million. So either way, another reduction would mean less revenue for the government. Is it 24 or is it 40? And so, again, that's a policy decision. Lester Carlson even says it. It is what it is. That's the policy that you want to move with, then let it be. And so, I mean, he's not necessarily arguing, because it was definitely more tense when they were talking about lowering the BPT from 5 to 4 about a year ago. Doesn't seem so tense today, but Lester is still holding on to it. We'll take the break. 5:32 in the afternoon. Wave 1. Oh, we'll take the. We'll look at traffic. All right.
Once again, it's about that time we take a look at traffic. Our last look for the 5 o'clock hour at 5:33 in the afternoon. He's going to help you move forward on your daily commute, along with AutoSpot, Mr. Pauly Suba.
All right, so I am seeing heavy congestion, Route 1 towards in the Hagåtña area, right around the Chief Kapul Park. Maybe everybody's still in awe of the flame trees. They're like, oh, they're so bright, and then they're holding up traffic heading northbound. Other than that, mild congestion, obviously, as you continue north onto Route 1 when you drive through the ITC intersection, as well as passing the Hoffaday Exchange Shopping Center. I think that's Park Place now. I could be wrong. I think it's called Park Place. And then you start to see some things clear up on Route 1 right after Route 10A. And then it slows down again for you in the Upper Tumon area and throughout Dedido. Route 8, obviously not as busy you'll be able to get through the tri-intersection a whole lot easier than any of the major intersections on Route 1, helping you move forward on this Thursday. At least the sun is down, right? Or I hope so. Well, the thing sunset's not until like 6:30-ish.
Probably.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going down late.
Yeah.
Coming up early.
Right? And then again, Guam Auto Spot helping you get through this Thursday afternoon right now. So they'll also help you with a test drive of one of their vehicles by calling them up, 478-AUTO. View their inventory on their website at guamautospot.com.
You have some dough. It's lunchtime, but there's no way you would eat just dough for lunch, right? Well, the good thing is, I have some cheese. Your friend has some tomato sauce. This random guy on the street has pepperoni in his backpack. If we bring all these ingredients together, we end up with something much better than any of them alone. A savory pizza for lunch. But each of us has not only different ingredients, but also different opinions coming from our different life experiences. If we bring all these experiences and all these opinions together in friendly, civil conversation, we end up with opinions and ideas that are better than any of our individual opinions before. So if we want to come up with better ideas for a better world,
what we really need are civil, civic conversations. Pizzas. It's an American thing. AmericanThing.org.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the show hosts, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the staff or management of Wave 105.1 FM, Glimpses Media, or our partners. We strive to provide quality, respectful, and engaging content, and we welcome you to participate in the conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Wave 105.1 FM. Enjoy the show.
Looking for the SUV everyone's talking about? Drive home the Honda CR-V, named one of Car and Driver's 10 best trucks and SUVs 4 years in a row. Choose from the CR-V LX, EX, Sport Hybrid, or the bold Trail Sport Hybrid. All designed for comfort, confidence, and fuel-efficient performance. Starting at just $35,995 or only $237 per paycheck. Visit Triple J Honda today and experience why the CR-V continues to lead the way. Get pre-approved instantly at triplejguam.com. Honda CR-V, ready for every road. Only at Triple J. Customers first.
Celebrate Father's Day with Power 98 and Wave 105 as we honor our first heroes. To enter, send a WhatsApp message or call in and share your funniest or most heartfelt dad story. Winners will be revealed from June 15th to June 19th, and you can win your dad a special bundle prize. Stay locked in to Power 98 and Wave 105. Brought to you by Guam Plaza Resort, Nana's Cafe, Roots Grill House, AutoWorks, Jollibee, Proline, and Cream and Butter. All summer long, Chili's Party Platters make celebrating easy and delicious. Perfect for grad parties, family gatherings, or anytime you're feeding a crowd. Available for pickup or for delivery. Only at Chili's. Great value and memories happen here.
The road to Adelup is in full swing. We recently spoke with Democrat candidates Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and Senator Tina Munilla Barnes to learn more about their vision for Guam. Catch the full conversation that took place on May 26th on the Wave 105's YouTube channel. This is a Glimpses of Guam radio station.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry.
Welcome back to the show. This is Wave 105. And you got locked on to the bright side with Mr. Pauly Suba. Buenas.
All right, welcome back. We just have the one more from this economic session, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is obviously Senator Chris Duenas. He wants like, hold up there, Lester. Let's just go back to the
Something ain't
BPT
right.
issue. And so he's showing that his fiscal year 2026 BPT collections are tracking above the adopted level. but still below what would have been collected at the old 5% rate. And so the larger point was that lowering BPT may help businesses. But, it also does mean less money for needs like DOC and schools and road paving maybe. I mean, thank goodness we can take some of that $20 million from the ARPA funds for island-wide paving, right?
We should just take it all.
Well, hopefully we can. Otherwise, we are going to return some of it.
But it has to be projects that have
that are already, like Senator Chris Dueñas says, shovel ready, right?
Yeah.
Projects that have already existed since December 31. I just need clarification. Is it 2024 or 2025?
I believe they said 2024.
He said 2024, but why were we always hung up on December 31, 2025 for the Manilao infrastructure project?
I see.
Okay, so again, Senator Chris Dueñas, he's gonna ask for confirmation because again, so you're saying we'll be at a deficit if we have some projects, but it's Senator Chris Dueñas saying, well, is Sanchez ready? Is DOC ready? So, are you really going to be doing those projects? Are you really going to be needing $16 million for Sanchez? And what about the new facility for DOC? Are you going to be moving forward in fiscal year 2027? And so he gets his answer.
Or the power situation, the power box over there at GMH.
Yeah. So he gets some of his answer from Lester, but Lester holds on to it. And so I just we'll end with this little dialogue here.
The surplus or deficit for each financial year gets accumulated into the general fund balance.
So the general fund balance for fiscal year 2025 will be basically inclusive of or a new representation of what the fund balance was in 24.
It'll take the 24 balance, which I think was like 42 million for unassigned, and it'll be increased or decreased by the surplus or deficit for fiscal 25.
Okay, and so essentially that can also be a reconciliation of deficit, positive or negative, in terms of the overall position of the government.
Yes.
Okay. So the only real analysis I wanted to, and this goes back to the previous question, so this is the analysis that I have so far. Business privilege tax revenue for 2026 is tracking on the April CRER, reflects revenue tracking of $379,015,906 in BPT revenues, which is a 10.2 to 220,974 above adopted BPT revenues of 368,794,932. Unaudited BPT collections at the end of fiscal year 2025 BPT rate at 5% totaled 403,014,612, which represents a reduction of about 24 million from the FY 2025 at 5%. That's why I'm saying that's what my numbers are showing right now in terms of that. Previous estimates pegged reduction BPT when the rate was reduced from 5 to 4.5 at 40 million. Given this current information, does BBMR continue to believe the impact of BPT revenues, according to Guam law, for the 4.5 going to 4, our closer estimate is 24 million. Are you saying it's going to be more?
I would like to be able to say emphatically one way or the other, but honestly, I'm not prepared to have a response. However, I think both of us agree there's going to be a reduction. You're basically just saying the reduction is less than what it is that we believe it is. And to that point, right, if going back to what it is, obviously, Simon Sanchez, that's $16 million. DOC's $5 billion. I could, you and I could go on and on about stuff that we need to fund that we're forgoing the revenue to fund. And the one thing that I wanted the general public to understand is that we follow the IRS, and the corporate tax rate reduction from 2017 that brought us to raising the BPT was permanized at the lower level. So the corporate tax rate that really is the culprit, for lack of a better word, for us raising the BPT has actually settled into a position to where when you look at corporate tax revenues, they're very, very strong. And they're almost as strong as my withholding tax that I just love to be able to remind people that's people that are working and paying their fair share of taxes, or the employers are. I think even if you and I were to agree as gentlemen that it's not 42, it's 24, and we agree that it was in the middle, we're still looking at funding the government of Guam on things what doesn't include cash for prior year obligations, doesn't include additional funding for village street paving that, thankfully we're able to subsidize with the ARP. When we get the schools back, I know we're going to all be looking at each other for school repair money for those 4 schools. I'm not going to, as you mentioned, sir, and you're absolutely correct, it's a policy decision. And this is a nice way to have a discussion where none of us are doing anything but just calmly and articulating where it is we're coming from. But if it's the will of the body, and if that's what happens, and the action comes before the governor for consideration, and we make a statement that well, you didn't get this, you didn't get this, you didn't get this because you did this. I mean, it is what it is. We're not going to. It's going to be done. We're just going to have to live with it.
And I appreciate that, because I mean, certainly this is something that when we have exactly between the 2 branches of government, when we have policy discussions, policy differences, this is the way I like to have it. And of course, that when we go over next door, that is what it is too. The thing is, I want to be able to take from here next door, particularly because this is a big policy change, and it'll be discussed. The public will listen to the discussion, and we'll have a final product. Especially, thank you once again, the potentiality of the 25 audit coming out soon. That'll also give us a picture of what are our priorities and where are things, and where the government also may be missing out on collections for some of these vital projects as well. So it's all on the table. Sure. I just want a couple of things I wanted to reiterate once again, though, is we have not incurred any expenditures against the 16.3 million appropriation currently in fiscal year 2026 for Simon Sanchez, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we also we do not currently have a plan for DOC A&E that's ready, shovel ready, correct?
Working on it, but not yet.
Okay. And those are some of the things that we will take into consideration as well going forward into the fiscal year, and find ways to work with you on that also, and set up the government. And I'll close with this. Actually, before that, I'll go to Mr. Guerrero to see if OFB has any questions, and I'll make a closing comment, and then we'll call it a day and go have some lunch.
Well, I mean, he pretty much says the same thing in his closing comments, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just have 2 questions. One
ahead,
for
especially on revenue projections and BPT policy, tax collections, agency needs, and how to fund priorities. And so the next important update will be the official May CRER report on June 20, and that revenue discussions are expected to continue in early July as the legislature prepares for the budget bill, right? And so you know, I mean, a number of times they both agreed that this is ultimately a policy decision, right? And so the debate is not necessarily over as far as what does it look like at 4.5 or 4. However, if we're going to show, I think that's what Lester Carlson is doing, show this is what it looks like at 4.5. Okay. What does it look like at 4? And that's what Senator Chris Duenas is trying to do at the very same time. But I appreciated how professional they were about it too. No, we don't have to take the break. There are no more breaks. There is an update on the woman in North Carolina. And so the Guam PDN published an article about 2 hours ago. I just came across it. And they state that according to FBI Honolulu spokesperson, recent reports and social media claims regarding a person alleging to be Paloma Luke, who was reported missing in 2011, have been confirmed false. Again, this is from Guam PDN. So we were
false.
sharing the on the real right and uncut YouTube video, right? And we edited the one and we played it yesterday. I also played it this morning. Clearly, this woman needs help. She definitely needs prayers because she is mentally unstable. She's dealing with drug addiction. She admits to the drug addiction for sure, right? She admits it. She even says, don't go this way, go the other way, right? And she says, otherwise you don't know what road you'll end up on. So she has gone through some things in her life. She clearly needs help. But again, Guam PDN confirming that from the FBI Honolulu's office through their spokesperson, that this person alleging to be Paloma Luke, who was also reported missing in 2011, have been confirmed false. So I appreciate the PDN for sharing that information. All right, 5:51 in the afternoon. We're going to be getting out of here. We'll do it all again. Mornings with Patty, rolling with dice from 6 to 10. Friday's pretty, chill. How much productivity do we do on a Friday? Everybody's just kind of pretending to be busy, right?
Yeah. Kill the time. Because they won't allow me to take my sick leave or my annual leave.
A day.
And because because it's still up in the air whether or not it's going to be upped or cut. But again, Friday productivity at work. Yeah, no, it's just,
everybody's looking busy.
Yeah.
Looking very busy. Yeah, for sure.
And that's all you can ask for as an employer.
Right. Thursdays are the most productive. Thursdays are arguably the most productive, right? Because you're trying to get it all done.
Yeah.
So Friday could be chill, right? There is an update from the Guam Veterans Affairs Office.
Okay.
They are advising the public that its current office in Assen will permanently close Monday, June 15th.
That's right, because they are in the they were in the process of moving up to Agana Heights.
They're saying it's Hagåtña.
Hagåtña?
They're not saying Agana Heights. They're saying Hagåtña.
That's Agana Heights. Yeah. If I have to walk up a hill, that's a hike.
Which mayor oversees the property? Which is the mayor that you go to if there's dogs running all over the place?
The Triangle Park is overseen by the Agana Heights mayor.
Okay.
And that's just adjacent to it.
They fought real hard for it though, right? There was there was a battle to who gets to have ownership over that park, right? So regardless, anyways, Hagåtña, Agana Heights,
it's up at the old Chancery.
They're moving over there, and they will resume regular operations Monday, June 22.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. The closure will allow staff to complete the transition of office equipment records and services in preparation for reopening at the agency's new location. That's a whole week. I remember when we were moving from my old job, we were moving from Bank of Guam to Ganta Mall, and guess how fast we had to move out of there? Probably in a couple days, and we never closed.
Yeah. I wasn't there.
We never closed.
I wasn't there.
We moved all the radio stations, and we were open for business
when
the whole time.
When KUAM moved from the old Ordit site to where it's currently at in Harmon, I wasn't there, but I heard the stories that they signed off at the old station and drove up and signed on.
That's exactly what we did too.
So
exactly.
Yeah, well, that's
they need the time, so they'll be closed for about a week, June 15, and then reopen Monday, June 22, at their new office at the Chancery, the old Chancery. Again, the closure will allow staff to complete the transition of office equipment, records, and services in preparation for reopening at the agency's new location. During the relocation period, in-person services will be unavailable. Veterans and their families are encouraged to plan accordingly and complete any time-sensitive business prior to June 15. The relocation supports GVAO's, that's GOVA, their ongoing efforts to enhance services and improve accessibility for Guam's veteran community. The agency remains committed. Go ahead.
Soft opening or anything like that, where this is photo ops for every candidate.
Yeah.
Oh, we care about our veterans.
The doors officially open
Yeah.
Monday, June 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can call their office if there is going to be something like that. I mean, this is something to celebrate.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. It's going to be.
We've been talking about that Asin building that is just not appropriate.
Oh, you mean the 2-bedroom house?
Is it only 2? It's a 2-story house.
It's a 2-story house, yeah. About 3 bedrooms on the top.
Right, maybe.
I saw a kitchen there when I took a tour there.
It's just not appropriate.
Very
obviously, it's a house.
Yeah, it is.
Not an office space. Not accommodating for what
and they've been there for a long time.
For veterans. Yeah,
they've been there. So congratulations to them for getting it.
Yeah.
For moving in, and hopefully the new space can be a place where it's conducive to the services that they provide.
For sure.
Yeah. I know they're going to have a lot of storage space for all the records.
Even just talking about where, veterans, especially war veterans, combat veterans, sometimes you just need a place to meditate.
Yeah.
For a quiet space. And I have been told that Chancery is a beautiful place for prayer and meditation. Obviously, it was a Chancery. There's plenty of prayer and meditating going on the daily, right? Yeah. So, in that aspect, it makes perfect sense as long as it is open to the public in that capacity. Because if you're gonna do that and say, hey, this is there's no loitering. I'm not saying that they're not. But why then? What is the whole point then? Because I think that you can take advantage of the serenity of this property, and allow veterans, especially that have PTSD, that are going through it, to use the space to balance their life. And so I think that that's a great success. And I would hope that they use it as such. All right, we're going to get out of here. And then, again, like I said, do it again tomorrow, beginning with Mornings with Patty, rolling with dice from 6 to 10. We got a lot of national programming for you until Ryan and I get back here to do another BrightSide from 2 to 6. Everybody get home safe. Be kind to each other, especially out on those roads. Adios. KGUM-FM in Tenedo, Guam.
Though you may not drive